I got it.
Yeah.
Gary, you might say. Good morning, everybody. If you want to follow me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
God, we ask you to be in the meeting today to guide our commissioners, give them insight and wisdom to make decisions. County, ask you to watch over our county employees, protect, ask you for our blessing.
How are you all?
Doing good.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from last week.
I'll second it.
Motion been moving second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Claims for the week. I have a couple questions on the claims. One of them was the health department with the ceiling speakers of $1,573. And the other one is Sparks contractual services for $18,846.
The contractual on that one was the fees that we're paying for the year to SEK Regional Planning Commission to manage the ARPA fund process for us. And I don't know a lot of details about what they're managing on it. And then what was the other one?
Ceiling speakers, $1,573.
That's confidentiality is 100% check rating, because you can hear everything that's going on in the next room. So it'll be, music or white noise or something like that, so that's, getting what's going on in the next room.
For music,
It'll either be whatever you want, the music, white noise, whatever you want to do. You can sit in my nurse's office and hear exactly what they're doing on the other side of the wall. So it needed confidentiality.
how do you guys feel?
I went to her office and talked to her last week or so, and I mean it is pretty quiet. And I could hear one of her employees talking across the hall. So I do agree with her. And anywhere you go in a public healthcare like that, you do hear a little bit of that music. So
That's actually one of the things that my grandmother.
But still, we're growing expenses by putting things like this in our buildings, and not the grant money isn't helping to me. We put an awning on, we just keep spending money, and it comes back and it just costs us money eventually. Upkeep.
I mean, do you foresee a bunch of maintenance on your speakers?
No. They're fairly easy to install. Maybe, I can't see 100%, they might be into. So it's not gonna be a big maintenance issue.
It's in her budget. We already approved her budget,
It's budget, it's grant money,
right?
But it's still, and I mean, I have to submit a budget to, it was actually my grant managers and, the health advisory board's recommendation, they were all for it.
Well, David, on the budget, we go over the last monthly expenses you showed, and we was over budget 36,000. How does, with hers, because of the grant money, right? Because you don't know what comes in sometimes with the grant money until after.
For the end of the year last year, yeah, we amended that one because we didn't have enough in there to cover the grants. So in this year's, when we were doing the budget, I bumped up the grant income to try to allow for that so we wouldn't have to amend.
Well, my question is, I've asked it for over 2 years now, the cost benefit ratio of per person that we're seeing, you know, at the health department. I've asked,
It's not one that's bringing a lot of money.
I understand that, but I'm still saying I'd like to see the records as far as how many people we are seeing.
Well, that's
in
what I give you every week. I just gave you the,
I understand that, but can we go back 2 years on it? To see what we did the last 2 years?
yes, I mean, yeah, I guess.
What about the Nightingale notes? Are we using that computer program? So can it print off something to show us what we've done?
Not before. In November, it went live, I had to buy February 1st, 22, so I can get everything.
So
I do have it on paper.
so we bought this thing in 19 or so and we never used it till 2022.
I do not know when it was purchased, it was here when I came.
I think it was, because it was, you guys bought it before I came in, Danny.
The, what was it?
Nightingale notes.
Our electronic. It was running, and if we went live February 1st, 22, I do not.
So we should be able to see 22's records. Could you print that out and bring it to us?
What do you want?
Number of people we seen and what services we gave. It's-
Call my, planning government manager and see if we can put that information.
Okay.
And I think this is where, in the budgets this year, that we don't do 7 budgets in one day. We do 1 budget a day, or, you know, a meeting, and we go from detail from day one, you know, go 2 years back, give us all the detail, tell us exactly how your department operates, what your motto of your department is, what your plan is 3 years from now, I mean, I want to know every single little detail. I mean, because I don't want you to, with every department. I think that's how you run a budget.
It's hard with mine because my grant federal fiscal year is different than county fiscal. My grants go from July 1 to June 30. And David, we talked about this last year, and all of this year. It's hard to know.
I think it's important, like, you know, if you're going to go out for a grant or anybody's going to go out for a grant, we think 10 years ahead from now, like if we get this grant, you know, what's the maintenance going to cost us if we, you know, hear from, you know, this year out, what it's going to cost us to maintain this grant or keep this grant, or are you going to have to figure it into your budget 3 years from now because you've been operating it for 3 years? Well, then your grant's up and, you know, you need to renew it. I
That's
mean,
exactly what happens to us with grant money a lot of times.
well, I know, that's where I think that we fail on trying to, you know, make the department to give us all that info. Instead, we just get little 4 items and say, you know, approve our budget. I don't like it at all. I've been saying it for 2 years. I mean, this would be looking like that would be a good budget for me. I mean, it's not like I don't want to have to do it. It's probably boring, but I mean, if I'm going to approve spending people's money or tax dollars, that's, they want to hear it too. So,
Well, we spend tax money as far as grant and put it in place, and then it didn't very long.
well, that's what I'm
Spending
saying.
more tax money
I think we need to make them
for the maintenance of the program we put in.
but we never know all the details, and I think that's important to know. I think we run through budgets too quick. That's my opinion. I feel like that we need.
Well, everybody sign off on my grant money, you know, I bring my own grants in. And that'll be coming up soon because they're on March 15th. So the awards are given, so we'd almost have to do it twice a year for one for county, one for grant. So, but no, the grants won't be around forever. They're going to be grants, they need to be spent in, and
Let's just
they
like,
have it extended for a year, which is good, so we have another year to spend this money. We're not in such a hurry, I think you and I talked about that, Daniel.
I just think it's important for our budget so that we're not, everybody's coming in here once a week and getting beat up by us, wondering why you're doing this and you're doing that, because it should be in your budget. And
it's just like we spent the $500,000 to build the health department. Why didn't we make the room sound or better, if you can hear? You know, we knew it was a health department.
shoulda, coulda, woulda, I guess. We didn't. So
Well, the option that they gave me was either put some stuff in the ceiling to help us sound, or speakers, and the speakers were the cheaper option. Yeah, I think it'd be nice. But my, like I said, my health advisor was today. among the nurses, so they understand the importance of confidentiality.
You go ahead and come up here and talk to us. We'll, tell us what you got going on.
Do you want my weekly report already? I actually did it for the last 2 weeks because I was out sick last week. So for the past 2 weeks, we've done 22 WIC, 2 nutrition education, 1 family planning, 1 COVID test, 2 COVID boosters, and 4 childhood immunizations. Next week, we will be gone 1 day for a nurses meeting in Chanute. The end of March, I'm not sure who's going yet. We have the governor's conference, and then in June we have our immunization conference that they haven't had for a couple years. So we'll be going to that.
Where are you at on your sign?
I have another week for bids, and then from there, it was last week. So
How many bids have you received?
1 from Shirley Signs.
That's who you've talked to before?
I've talked to them, and I've talked to a man it's called Mark's Signs, but I changed a little bit, so he's having to redo that if he wants to bid.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I don't know.
No questions?
Thank you, Missy.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Randy?
Are we gonna approve the claims or are we gonna not approve them?
Good morning, Commissioners. I gave out the weekly call report. We had 5 incidents last week. Brings our total call incidents up to 34 for the year. If you look, it's starting to be that time of year. A lot of our incidents involved grass and brush fire. So burning season's upon us. Just another reminder to call in the sheriff's office before dispatch, before you start burning. It's an automated system. It'll tell you if we're in a burn ban or not for the day. Kind of discussed some burning issues with local farmers and things yesterday. I do think we need to approach our burn ban criteria and may revamp that system.
So I know when Doug was here, he kind of went off the Kansas State Wildlife or whatever it is up there, the refuge up there at Trading Post. Do you go off that too whenever they put a burn ban on?
What I'm going off of is National Weather Service. In the current burn ban criteria, it's based off of relative humidity and wind speeds. The wind speeds more concern me than anything. So that's what I'm basing off of, is that wind speed. Like today, they're calling 40-mile-per-hour gusts. But some of my concerns is we're issuing this burn ban, but there's instances that sometimes it may be all right for the person to burn. I want to kind of look at the system, maybe going into like a permit system where we get their name information in that permit system. It says, hey, if I'm burning, I'm liable. That way we're covered no matter when they burn throughout the year. Have it good for a year, no cost, but that gets us that information for that landowner, current phone numbers, stuff like that. That way, if that fire gets away or if they have something else happen, we have a lot of people that own land in Linn County that don't live here. And so that gets us the information for that individual where we can contact them if we need to, or go after them for, hey, you threw your match down and went somewhere else. We can go back after them and say, hey, we sent 20 trucks out and put your fire out after you walked away. So I think it's a system that needs to be looked at as far as burn bans and stuff like that.
Gary, would that be an issue if we did ask the landowners to sign and got a yearly permit right up front and then called in every time that they decided to burn? But if they accepted responsibility for what they was doing that day, that they could go ahead and burn if
Sounds like something that could be done. Are any other counties doing it that way, do you know?
So the county I come from, that's the way they ran their system was, hey, first of the year, or even if you're not going to burn until July, just get that burn permit. It gets all that information into like the sheriff's system, that contact information for that land. So a month later, if they have a garage blow up and we go up and they live in the county outside of Linn County, we have that contact information. It keeps it updated, good for the year. And then also gives us someplace to go back on if they throw that match down and walk away.
Do they have a written policy that
spells all that out.
Yeah.
Can you get a copy?
How do you
Yep.
guys feel about that?
Well, what happens? So what, right now, if you don't call in and report a fire and there is a burn ban, you don't even check it and you start a fire, we can legally go after you for whatever it costs us.
We cite them for that.
Yeah. Which I think, Gary, there's only been a few instances that it's ever been an issue.
There's only been 2 or 3 that have come to the point where I took them to codes court. They
Right.
got to me.
There's situations, and we talked about this year or so ago, there's situations that a rancher farmer sets up a burn day and has all his help there, and if it is surrounded by farm ground, he wants to burn it.
And he has
We
to
stop him from burning it.
I think that's what happened yesterday was,
But if the landowner chooses to accept their full responsibility for what he's doing, you guys feel that
I think we should still have the burn ban in place.
And that's,
We're protecting the public with the burn ban. Even if they've got their help set up, they should have looked ahead at their weather planner and everything that way.
but even if you got a situation where it's all farm ground around it or different situations.
How are we going to dictate those situations? You know, maybe there's a waterway within that farm ground that gets into, you know, I'm just thinking that from the bigger issue of not having wildfires, not having things get out of control. And I know that's not really an issue in our area so far, or hasn't been, but it is an issue, and containing our fires and doing stuff that way is important.
But I think there's other counties out there that do things different than what we do that works for them because of the landowners to let them do, because it's such a narrow window on the burn days.
and that's something I can look at other counties, get with the fire board and maybe revamp it and bring it back to you guys.
Yeah,
Say, hey, let's change this a little bit to
I'm
help everybody out. So,
yeah, just you figure out all the ins and outs of it. And
Yeah.
So
So.
I'd be okay with that. I think it's important because we do get a lot of phone calls over it, especially this time of year. So
oh yeah, and one thing that, like yesterday when I got in the office today, I get our voicemails when they come into our office, but the missed phone calls I don't get. We had a lot of phone calls yesterday about the burning. They didn't leave messages. So just remember that when you call in, it's supposed to be to the dispatch. It's an automated system. It'll tell you if the burning's loud or not at this time. The other thing is our burn ban does not cover the cities. So it is up to the individual cities to either prohibit burning or I know there's one city that says, hey, if the county issues a burn ban, this city's in a burn ban. I had another police chief that emailed me the information saying, hey, he put his city in a burn ban. So based on our language in our burn ban, we don't cover the cities, but the cities may have something to do that. So if you live inside town, just remember, we may be in burn ban, but they may allow it in town.
So if you're in the city and you want to call on a Saturday and nobody's in their office and they don't have an automated service, what do they do?
I don't know. I mean, they're going to have to either call dispatch and get a hold of the police on duty or that city's fire chief at that time, find out. So, because I had 2 calls from within city limits of Linn County in different towns saying, hey, we want to burn, but we're like, one of them was in the scene. Hey, I want to burn some leaves. Well, that goes back on the scene, whether they issue that burn ban or if they have the wordage that says, hey, county issues one, we're issuing one too.
Are all the cities aware of that? I mean, that
A couple of them are. Lacine was one of them I had not checked with yet, but like Pleasanton, they are, if the county issues one, they're going to issue one too. So. But just the wordage in our burn ban for the county, it specifically says that the cities, incorporated cities, are not covered in that burn ban. So, just kind of a heads up, severe weather preparedness week is the 6th to the 10th of March. We're going to try to set up for siren testing and get some other activities scheduled for that week. So I'll bring more information in next couple weeks. And then I'd like to ask for a 10-minute executive session for non-elected personnel.
How's everything going at all your barns?
Do what?
How's everything going at all your barns?
Going good. The biggest problem right now is just getting more staff members. We're short. Mound City is one of the smaller stations now. We're down to 5 on that station. It's one of our biggest populated communities, and we can't get anybody to join. So that's the big thing right now. Is just getting people to sign up.
I don't have anything else.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Randy.
Thank you. Good with it?
We never had a motion on the claims.
I'd like to know what the 18,000 on the works fund is. Okay.
Just, you want to go ahead and do everything you got going?
Okay. So that fund, that 18,000, we are contractually obligated to pay that out of our ARPA fund, to Regional Planning Commission. That's a 5-year expense. This is year 2. It's already figured into the spreadsheet that I gave you the other day. So that is, we're basically paying Taylor to, she's looking at all of our applications that come in to make sure that they're allowable. She's making sure that we follow all rules for ARPA. She's doing all of our reporting for the federal government. So that's what that is.
So that actually comes out of the money they give us. They turn around and take it back. It's for
Well, the money comes from, it doesn't come from regional planning, it comes from the government, the federal government, and then they take a part of it. And that was part of our agreement for them to apply for it,
Okay.
for us. So that's what that is.
Almost all the grants that they apply for us in our behalf, we pay them a percentage.
If we get the grant.
Yeah.
If we don't get a grant, we
Right.
don't pay them anything. But if we do, they take an administration cost off the grant.
Cut off the top.
give us money and turn around and create and take it back.
Any grant writer is going to do that.
I understand.
We also will have an invoice for them, I think on the next, maybe not next week, but the week after, and it's our membership fee. I think it's 3,000-ish. That comes out of economic development. That's for the year. And by paying that, we're able to have them apply for us for things.
Where are we at on the broadband project with ARPA funds? I mean, where are they at on the project?
I haven't heard from them lately.
Have they started?
I haven't heard from them. Do you want me to get,
I mean, yeah, I mean, are we keeping track of that, or what do we?
we can have QuickCom come in and answer your questions.
Have a year and a-
Peoples has not requested any funds yet. So, I mean, they haven't submitted an invoice, so we haven't actually paid Peoples yet. But we did pay QuickCom and we kept a retainage.
So are we still accepting applications for distributing ARPA funds to outside entities?
I mean, we will accept them until we are out of funding, unless you guys allocate the rest of that funding for something else.
I'm just going to talk about it. I think that it's important that we I would like to utilize the ARPA funds to help increase some kind of pay for our employees throughout, countywide. I don't know what you guys think on it. I mean, we're paying people $14, $17 an hour to run a piece of equipment. And
If we use the funding for payroll, there's a whole other level of reporting that we have to do.
I'd like to look into it.
That's a prime example of what you just said. We're setting this up and then next year go.
How's that sustainable, Danny?
I don't know. That's what we need to figure out, because we have the sheriff's department losing employees left and right. All last week, that's all I dealt with. I didn't even do construction. I dealt with this. We can't retain any employees.
Have you talked to other counties?
I've talked to my county, which is important. I'm trying to get, figure out.
Miami County's in the same situation.
Okay, but is Miami County losing every single department head going to retire in the next 5 years? We have no plan, which is crazy to me. We have no plan on what we're going to do. We have no plan going forward. We have no layout of what we're going to do moving forward. Our department heads are getting beat up. Kevin's probably not even going to run next year again. David's getting ready to retire. What's our plan?
Elected officials, you don't have a plan.
they can have an operating plan in their office of what, how things roll.
You
And
don't have any idea who's gonna be their next election.
we're just going to keep running the county the way we are. I have no road grader in my district. Do you guys?
Yeah.
I know. I don't.
Okay.
It's happening everywhere. Kevin, how many employees are you down?
4 or so.
I don't know. Sean,
Well, 4 or 5.
are you getting any new applications?
We've had applications, but
We just hired one in the North Shop a couple weeks ago.
Miami County's down numbers. It isn't about the
So-
money, it's about the people on there.
I know that's our job to figure it out, though. It's our job. We're sitting here to figure
I
it out.
agree. It's our job to figure it out.
Would you guys go work for $17 an hour?
No.
But we expect everybody else to, and we expect the county to operate efficiently when we're voting against COLAs and the most important thing in this county to me is the employees that make this thing run and make our job easier. The county's not growing. Nobody's coming back here to work here unless you're coming back to retire, and then we're going to be in the same position 3 years from now. And we have no plan. We have a hospital district in Linn.
What solutions can we come up with?
I don't know. That's for us to figure out. I mean, I think we need to revamp the entire, how everything operates in this county. Pleasanton, we give every municipality free package of everything. While they're starting their police officers out at $20, $25 an hour, they got 6 of them and sending them to training. We have an officer here, and I haven't slept at all because I came over here on Sunday or Saturday to just kind of look around and think. Kevin's over here washing the floors. We got to figure it out, in my opinion. I mean, we give free dispatch to all the cities. We give, free jail. And, I know they're going to be in the same position, but we don't even take care of our in-house people first.
We could go back to this, clear back before we built the jail, if we wanted to go there. Its operating cost was brought up to you, Danny, long before we even had the jail started.
Well, shoulda, coulda,
You
woulda.
was done right where you're at there, and you said it was taken care of.
The jail was already, it was voted on. It was already on before I even got here.
I asked the questions, what I'm saying, with you sitting there, and everybody said that the operating cost was taken care of.
So what you're saying, we're not going to move forward.
I'll tell you what, we have a budget for this year.
I know we have a budget. I know, but we don't have a plan. We don't have a plan for
Well,
when.
You can start talking about a plan, but just what do you want to do? You want to raise the wage?
I don't have a plan. That's why I'm coming to you guys. Like, what are we going to do here? We come in here every week and we're told that we're not doing our job because, and the employees we're getting emails left and right about employees resigning because they're not happy, going to other entities that we provide money to, that we don't legally have to, I don't think, but we do. But it's just how things have ran in Linn County our lives. So it's not broken, so we don't fix it.
What are we giving other entities money to? Explain what you're saying there to me, I guess. What are we giving them money?
We could go back to a lot of different things. I mean, the airport, for instance, does anybody know what the plan on that is? The details? Do we have a contract? I mean, we're paying Pleasanton how much in taxes a year? 33,000. The airport nobody lands there. It's not so I've been on the phone with a lot of people this last week. It's not FFA regulated. The lights that we have running down the runway they can't be solar. They got to be electrically wired in. So that airport's not even federally.
It's not FAA because we sold lots.
Okay, so what happens if somebody flies in there and them lights don't work? I mean, their lives are on the line. I think that's a risk for the county, and we're not making any money on it. I'm sure that thing's got to be overlaid, sooner than later. There's just a lot of issues that we don't address until, does it take somebody's life to address the issues? Or are we just going to keep letting it go because it's just kind of how things are roughly, moving on? I don't have an answer. That's why I'm asking you guys. But I know that if we just keep going the way we are, we're not going to figure anything out.
So what do we do? That's what it comes down to. Mr. President, tell us,
Jason,
are we going to have a meeting? are we actually going to talk about what issues we have and how we're going to solve those issues?
Yes, I think we need to try to formulate.
You know, or are we just going to complain about other people and how they're doing things? And we're going to try to project what we think other people should be doing with their money?
Who are we complaining about?
I'm just saying that if we're going to sit down and have a meeting, it needs to be a productive meeting that we can throw out ideas, talk about possible solutions, and start narrowing things down. That's how it needs to be.
It would be fair to say that I've asked questions about the health department, what we spend over there for 2 years, right? Have you helped me any way find a way to know how many people we're serving in the health department? You know, and we look at it, we just keep growing it. That bottom number just keeps getting bigger.
500,000 to 900,000.
500,000
to 900,000 to
$500,000 for the health department
Last
in the
year.
county. So what I'm saying is, if we're going to use county taxpayer money, let's figure out how many people are going to the health department. Maybe we can do something cheaper. We've got 4 counties right south here. If you want me to start this,
No, we need to start it, Jim. Like, I
That there-
don't know why you guys are getting so defensive. We need to.
there
fix
is a
the damn thing.
multi-county health department, 4 counties south of us.
And they're in the same situation, right?
No,
Then I guess.
their operating costs is a lot lower than ours.
Okay, so we have the airport that's costing us money, and I can't even think of everything that, I'd have to go do all my homework. I mean, there's just so many things that can change, but we've never changed it because we've never been forced to.
And the first thing that you go to Southeast Kansas, they're gonna do is cut more staff. They're gonna need 1.3 miles.
Are they operating? When we talk about a awning there, it's a tent. That's what they do there. But their budget is probably less than $750,000 for 4 counties, and we're $500,000. So what do you think they're?
last week you guys were willing to spend $6,500 on a sign on the highway.
65, was that?
Weren't you? Didn't you tell her to see about getting some grant funds and come back to us and we'd pick up part of it?
Yeah.
But everything that you're
Just-
talking about, and 100% grant paid.
Right.
Where's the grant come from though, Missy?
But-
Okay.
So, but if we don't take those dollars,
It just sets us behind.
Sets us behind for what? Just like the health department over there with a $500,000 building, then the rooms aren't even soundproof. And it was a health department. Is that the same problem we have at the clinics down here? They just built new clinics. When you build something, do we make it to where it's soundproof? What about the jury rooms over here? Are they soundproof?
Yeah, I think they are.
Okay. Bottom line is when we start out, and we threw grant money at that. Because there you go again, there's $500,000 there in grant money.
but if we don't take it, our money.
So what? We're just not going to take care of the low end people within our county?
Let's look and see what we're doing, the dollars we're spending to do it.
I'm not complaining that we look at it.
Let's look at it. That's what I'm saying. Let's look. And I've asked for numbers for 2 years.
I give you numbers every week. Numbers every week.
From here forward, you have, Missy, and I appreciate that. That is a start. And in over 2 years, I've got to start, but I've asked for those numbers. Gary, would it be a fair statement to say that I've asked for those numbers for 2 years?
I believe I've heard you ask for them many times.
Okay. And all I want to see is, can we do it cheaper?
And that's exactly what I'm trying to say. I think there's cheaper, easier ways where we can. I feel like that everybody. I mean, does it make sense to you that?
But-
and I'm picking on Pleasanton because I know what they do. That they have officers that are utilizing or that are starting out at $20 an hour, and then they're sending them to boot camp, and then they get free dispatch, they get free jail, they get free Zerker, they get. So when they hire an employee, they call Kevin, and one of Kevin's deputies have to enroll them in the Zerker program that we pay for, that nobody else pays for. And that's not there. So I've called out to a few different counties. Majority of the counties I've talked to is they have some kind of contract with the cities to provide them services, and we just do it for free, but we're not taking care of our in-house people first.
Whose responsibility is to do this? Kevin, do you have say over doing that? Can you stop that if you want to?
Yes, sir, I do, but the county commission for years in Linn County has precluded charging cities. They've asked that not be done for any reason, so we have not.
Is that your jurisdiction to do that? Can
It
you?
is, but it was
Okay.
taken by the commission. They asked that we not do that, so I would only wait for the commission to change their mind. When your legislature, the Board of County Commission, would step forward and say, and Commissioner James did this many times, that we wouldn't be charging the cities. I don't care if you do or you don't. But if you come out and make that rule, if you were to read the jail statutes in Kansas, it would tell you that I would have to charge each and every entity that would put people in my jail so that we would treat those people fair and equitable. In this situation, the commission came out some years ago, before I was ever here, and said, we're not going to charge the cities for these types of services. I'm not going to
That's
disagree.
rule written somewhere. I mean, we written out a statute in Linn County.
I don't think the commission has ever passed a resolution to that effect. I think they just made the statement that that's what they want to do.
So we have no resolution that says that then.
No, I don't believe
So
so.
I feel that's your call, Kevin. If that's,
Well, if the commission wants to come back and make a motion and say, we're going to overturn what we've thought for the past however many years, I can tell you in records that I have for the sheriff of Linn County, back in the 40s and 50s and 60s, we charged cities for housing their inmates, and that comes to a few inmates per month. So I've never made a big howl about it. And I've never said, you guys are changing my daily operation. I just, however y'all want to do it.
And I'm not, and I don't know if that's the solution or not, but it's just something that I've been trying to deal with because I get emails from Kevin talking about he's having people resign left and right. But then I see Pleasanton doing what they're doing, and I'm not just picking up Pleasanton. It's countywide. Is it the right thing to do? I don't know. Is it the wrong thing to do? I don't know. That's why it's up to us to figure it out.
well, I don't feel that's our call.
Mutual aid agreements,
Yeah.
we do it on fire. They're outdated at this point. We're needing to redevelop them and things that way. Do we need to have mutual aid agreements on
I think we got to consider
police as well?
everything. I mean,
What's that statute, Kevin? I can't remember.
do you feel it's right that they're, they had 2,000 traffic calls and 1,660 of them were for traffic alone. With their field training officers is what they told me. They were pulling people over for field training. Well, we can't even get field trainers because we have one deputy on because we can't find anybody. And I know you guys say, well, it's happening everywhere. Yeah, it's happening everywhere. But do you think they have a plan to try to eliminate that and try to move forward? Because that's what I want to do. I don't think we can sit here, be in a meeting for 2 hours and just say our county's running.
Well, I think to find other counties and one right north there that they don't, that they said they can raise their wages $4 an hour and it'll happen and just move it up. The next county up, will just move them up $4.
It puts us even further behind, I guess. I mean, then what? Whenever I'm your guys' age, it's a ghost county. I mean, because right now it's not justifiable to pay the taxes that we pay here. For the people, we ask them to pay the taxes. It's crazy. I feel like that we don't utilize our tax dollars right. We have a hospital district in Lacey, Kansas, with $1.2 million in it. It's not countywide. That's crazy to me. I don't know if we could do something to make it countywide, but they have $1.2 million in an account. And do you guys know anything about what's going on with it? They didn't give CHC any money whenever they moved into the hospital district. Do you think it's right that only Lacey gets that hospital district?
That's how it was formed. That's how
I
it was
know.
voted on.
I know that's how it was formed, but it's because it was formed that way. Does it make it right? I mean, so say, the power plant
So,
goes in so
but I
many
mean,
years.
the people voted on that. They filed the petition. The people voted on that.
No, I agree. Yeah.
So when we're talking about serving the people, if they didn't want it and they didn't want it set up that way, they could have failed it, right?
Gary, how was that set up? That somebody went around with a petition,
They
right?
did a petition and they had to get over 50% of the registered voters to sign a petition, which is like it wasn't technically an election, but it was a petition that 50% of the people had to sign. I don't mean 50% of the signers. I mean 50% of the electorate had to sign that petition.
Danny, you have a hospital board too.
It was disbanded, I think, wasn't it, Gary?
It's been banned.
That's,
It's been disbanded.
Disbanded. so that was their decision, right?
I
You're-
don't know what happened there.
So what I'm saying is that we're up here and we're talking about other people and the decisions that they're making. Okay? And everything that way. And we need to be taking care of ourselves and making the decisions that we need to make. Does that make sense?
Well, we tax the district and they're putting money into a savings account. Do you think that's okay?
It was voted on. They got their signatures. I signed the paper. So now I get to come back and say it's not okay?
I don't know if it's okay. That's what I'm asking you guys. What do you, I mean,
I'm just saying.
there's not a damn thing in this county that's running right. If you want to know the truth, not a damn thing's running right. And we got to do something
But we
about
don't
it.
have control over that hospital district, is what I'm telling you.
We have control of the county. We need to figure it out.
That's fine. Let's figure that out.
Okay, well, everything I say, you guys are coming back at me, and then you guys argue about totally contradicting yourselves here.
Okay.
We're so far behind in our matrix because we don't we don't stay up with inflation throughout the country. I don't know. We have no plan in place, nothing. We have no plan. There should have been a plan before I was even born. Our biggest taxing entities, the
Hey,
power plants.
we're up here with you.
No,
Start leading us. Start
I'm
showing us
trying,
that
and then
plan.
you guys get
No,
on an
I'm
attack. So let's figure it out
not
together.
on the attack. I'm just telling you that
Did you
let's
approve
make a
it?
plan.
Did you approve the budget 6 months ago or whatever? it is?
because I didn't.
I did.
I did too.
And shame on me. Shame on me.
Right. So where was
So
the
let's
plan
figure it
then,
out.
Danny?
Moving forward to, let's see what the next budget is. You can't change your budget in the middle of the.
We can get a plan. It's going to take more than a day to figure it out.
I know it's going to take more than a day. I'm willing to work.
Okay.
I'm willing to work at it.
But I don't think it's putting ARPA money on wages and then trying to.
I'm not saying that's the right way to do it. I'm not saying the right way to disband a hospital district, make it countywide. I'm throwing out ideas because I'm lost here. I don't know. We need to figure it out.
Okay.
We owe it to our people to try to figure it out, get a plan together to take care of them.
I have no argument for that.
I mean, Missy's getting beat up over $1,500 speakers when she has a spending ability to do it. You know, and I agree. Some of the grants that we approve.
Would you, let's go back here.
I'm not going back nowhere, Jim. I'm going forward here. I'm not going backwards. All right. From here now on, I'm going
keep
forward.
approving grant money and grant money. for
That's what I'm saying.
things
I'm
that
saying
you wouldn't spend money.
we need to figure out if we're going to approve a grant. We need to be thinking long term. Like, okay, what's this going to do to affect us in the end? What's the maintenance going to be on these grants? Like, yes, you're right.
I'll agree.
Have I thought like that? Nope, I haven't, guys. I haven't thought like that. But from now on, we need to.
Okay. We're moving forward.
Good. Let's get a plan. Let's move on. Jessica, you got anything else?
No, just the airport meeting tonight at 6, Danny, you're still planning on
Yeah.
coming. Did you all have anything for me?
I don't. Jessica, thank you.
I don't either.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Is that meeting right here?
We're going to approve those.
I'll make a motion we approve the claims in the amount of $145,747.84.
I'll second it.
Motion moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
One statement.
You, Gary? Yep.
I always get these confused. What's the amount that we're approving here?
Second to the right column, I believe.
This one?
go over one to the right. Yeah, that's the tax change, I believe.
I'll make a motion that we approve this tax abatement in the amount of $1,071.46.
I'll second it.
Motion been moving second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, AMR.
Good morning, Galen Anderson, Operations Manager with American Medical Response. On the staffing front, as I reported last week, we had 2 new hire full-time EMTs complete their in-class academy and get released to field orientation. So they're still in that phase. Part of how long that phase depends is how many transports that they get to run and experience. And volume's been a little bit slower, so they're still on that third rider orientation. But in the near future, maybe the next week or so, they'll get released to start filling their shifts, and that's going to help us out a lot. We'll just be down to 1 full-time paramedic opening then, so that sets us up better from a overtime expense standpoint. And then numbers-wise, so far in February, we're at 4 total transports. We usually see somewhere between 2.5 transports a day on average. So for 4 for the first 5 days in February is quite slow, but I'm sure it'll pick back up. And that's about all we have going on down here in Linn County. Any questions for me?
I went to the STARS program this morning and just stepped in on their class they have, the paramedics, and they had a lot of good things to say about you and you know how involved you were getting, and they were really appreciative of that. So
Good.
So thanks for doing that.
Yeah, one of the EMTs that we hired is here, lives here locally, so that was a huge bonus to get someone that is familiar with the county and resides in the county. So with that program, I think they'll keep that trend going here.
I don't have anything else for you.
All right, have a good week.
Thank you.
I've got 2 or 3 more things for him. Sheriff, report, prisoners. Thank you.
You want to let David or Kevin come up and talk about all this? Do you want to do something before that?
I still have more to do, whatever order you want to go, I don't care.
You go ahead, David.
The next thing I had was the sheriff's monthly fee report for approval or for acceptance.
The end of the month report for the sheriff's office is for the end of the month is $4,195.85. I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Motion been moving second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Let's see that.
And, of course, you all know I have a vacancy in the office. We interviewed some people Friday, working on that, trying to get things taken care of. I also, of course, with Morgan leaving, she was doing a lot of the election work. Stephen and I have been talking about it, and while talking with Katie, he's willing to move up and get into the election side of things, and we're going to be rearranging some duties in the office. Some of it's going to depend on who we end up hiring, but at the moment, I am promoting him to a clerk 2 position, and this would be due to his progress in the office and willingness to accept new duties. So that would be at 17.3896 per hour, and that's just straight up one range from where he was at clerk 1.
What's his last name? It's
Sage.
Sage. Stephen, right?
Yes.
You need a motion to approve that?
Not necessarily. I mean, I wanted to let you know and get it in there, but it's within my authority to make promotions, so.
All right. Anything else?
I think that's all I've got for now.
You guys got anything?
I don't know.
Kevin?
Good morning, gentlemen. Kevin Friend, Linn County Sheriff. Our total inmates in today is 48. We had 8 releases this past week. We have no farm outs. We have 32 inmates farmed in, 20 of those from Wyandotte County, 12 of those from the United States Marshals Service. This past week, we had 51 911 calls, 4,346 contacts within the jail, 453 calls for service. We had 31 civil service papers served this past week. And I might attribute a lot of that activity to the county treasurer. She's currently working on forfeiture type stuff, tax forfeiture stuff. So she's provided us a chunk of papers. We're about 3/4 done with the service on those. We had 4 VIN inspections. We had 7 new cases open this past week. We had 6 cases closed. We worked 4 vehicle crashes. Our school resource officers had 110 calls for services in the 6 schools. Our bailiffs brought in and scanned and contacted 157 individuals coming in the front door of the Justice Center. Out of those, they had 24 calls for service. And what that means is those 157 people had further things that they needed, and they utilized our bailiffs as the deputies at the front door to take care of some of those things. They could be questions, directions, anything like that that they might need. And we had 3 livestock out reports this past week. So we're happy to see our numbers where they're at right now, because they're at a little lower level. We're about 20 calls for service under where we were last week, and we're up in our 911 calls a few, but 51's totally doable for us. So I have a couple other issues. If you gentlemen have no question on numbers, I'd like to jump into a couple other things that I need to talk to you about. The first item would be the electrical service at 107 South 4th, the old building over here. I would like to transfer that electrical service outside of my budget and get it somewhere else. Today, we will be kind of finished up with that building, and you guys would have whatever access or whatever you need to it, of course. But the power service is still running $400 or $500 per month, and that's inside of my budget currently, and I'm taking care of the Justice Center, so I didn't really budget for both, if you will. And I'd like to move that to another fund or something to be taken care of. I think there's still some IT equipment that runs in there. I don't know what it does for the big courthouse, but it does something for them, I believe. So I think power's got to stay on. I've already had the final reading on the water, so there's not water in the building anymore. And we've left a few faucets open so things wouldn't freeze or what have you. We've turned temperatures down to 55 degrees. We've turned off continuous fans that were running and things like that to try to get that energy bill coming down a little bit more. But it is where it is. I believe last month the bill was like 500 and change. So I just need to get that outside of my budget and into a county budget somewhere where it would continue to be maintained until you guys are ready to reach disposition with the building.
We go out with for bids now on that.
Is that what we're doing, is getting rid of the building?
Yeah, I think it,
And that's our best move?
yeah, I think so, yeah. I mean, I don't think, we saved this building and it cost us a lot of money beyond what we thought it was going to cost. That building I don't think it's salvageable. I think it needs to go.
It's going to cost us more to build a new one.
What do we need a new one for? Yeah,
What are we talking, 3 to 5 years, you think, before someone's asking us for some more office space and stuff that way? I
It
mean,
was sold to the public that had mold in it and it's gone. So That's what it was sold, right?
Yeah. And we still, I mean, we kind of have a plan. We still have the community second part of the project that was voted on, which is kind of where we're going with the old justice or judicial center over there and the attorney's office.
How did saving this building cost us so much money? You said.
Yeah.
How much should we put in electrical?
And
By just leaving, by having to do things different with the Justice Center, that's what you're saying?
I'm just saying we
I'm just trying
we
to,
originally planned to demo this thing down and it ended up costing us more in the end. Now we still got to remodel this in here, figure a few things out.
Well, back to Kevin's question, if you want to move to transfer that electric bill over to courthouse utilities, that would. Yeah, we just need to code it that way when the next one comes
I'll
in.
make a motion, we move the electrical from the old jail back to the courthouse.
I'll second that motion.
Motion been moved and second, all in favor?
Aye.
In response to Jim's question, I've got the ad ready to go, but Chris still has stuff in there. And so,
There's still a little bit of stuff in there too. Kevin, don't you have a plan? You sent out an email about some items that were still left in there?
That's correct. Today, from 1 to 3, I've invited other offices and department heads into the building to see if there were things they might be able to use within their operations.
How do you guys think we should do this demo? Should we look for salvage companies to come in and get all the metal and everything else off of it to try to swap dollars for the demo that's going to cost? I mean, there's trusses in there. There's a lot of metal over there, a lot of metal.
There is a lot of metal in there, and that's why I'm thinking that it's going to cost a lot more to replace that building space.
Well, I mean, we're not utilizing it right now for anything.
Well, we can't in its current state, right? We're not utilizing the old court building for anything.
No, but we don't have it in our plan either. I mean,
Well, I thought we were just going to build a plan.
all right, you guys,
Was that too soon?
I'm not in favor of keeping it. I'm not in favor of keeping it.
I'm just thinking that, I mean, why are we condemning it? I know that we have a nice facility over here. I'm not complaining about us building the jail or anything that way. I'm not saying that one was fit to house the number of prisoners that we currently have or anything that way. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just saying, is it fit for something else?
Kevin came to us with a plan about the juvenile and we were against it. I don't know.
Would it be
Discuss it.
worthwhile to bring in someone to look at that building and say, yes, you have a mold problem, or no, you don't? Yes, you have a roof problem, or no, you don't?
I think it would be prudent for us to do that instead of tearing the building down. And then, like I said, there'll be another request coming up before long. Somebody saying
What's
that,
left of it? The tower behind it's still got to come down, right?
correct?
Which I wonder, I mean, it'd be easier to get that done with the building out there, but if we're going to save that, then we've got to figure in it's probably going to cost a little more to demo that tower down with that building still there. With the hazard, I mean, if I was a contractor doing it, I would, then we're taking the generator and all the switches and everything off of it to move over to the courthouse. Unless we're going to switch that plan too.
I think you've got hopefully some bids coming, or at least some discussion on the other remodeling projects and things we're going to look at. And just my opinion, it might be prudent to look and see where we're at on that before making any final decisions on another building. Because we don't know at this point what it's going to take to do.
I agree, but I don't think we should start by tearing it down. I'm with you on looking at all the information and making the decision based off of everything we have in front of us.
I mean, I'm not opposed to holding off and doing, let's figure a plan out. That's what we're going to do. Kevin, do you got anything you want to add to that? Since you've been in the building, the state of it.
Well, you have an 8,000 square foot building that in 1974, I believe, the county issued warrant on and paid $176,000 for. The building is primarily still a very usable building in my estimation. I don't know why we wouldn't put it to work, but everybody's always talked about tearing it down. I don't know that there was, I know there was a mold problem at one time. I know that that was mitigated to a very high tune. Gary might be able to talk more in depth about that than I or David, because I was not here at that point in time. It would be my belief that that issue was mitigated. I think there's probably some surface mildew and things like that, but quite frankly, when you're housing 20 individuals in there and they're taking showers all day long, there's going to be a lot of humidity produced from that activity. I would say that since that activity has stifled and we've gone through a very, kind of a cold spell here, I would say that that activity of mildew or mold growth would be down somewhat. I would think that you would probably want to assure that the building met all life and safety hazards before you did reutilize it, but there's people out there to inspect that kind of stuff. So I don't know. In my estimation, I've offered other plans for the building. I felt that they fell on deaf ears, which is just fine. It's not my building to do with, it is yours. So, I mean, I would have an opinion, but opinions are like other parts of our things, and, they are worth what they're worth. So my opinion was that we would reutilize portions of the building. Quite honestly, I know that a lot of county offices and departments need things like places for storage. I can't think of a more secure place to store something in other than the jail cells that are there. If the county needed office space, I think that you could go in and do some sort of a facelift on that and probably put something in the front end of that. I also suggested at one point in time that maintenance could probably utilize some of the space there for a wood shop and some things like that that often takes place for them, and it's done in the courthouse of the basement. And when you're climbing out of the courthouse of the basement, I know personally, I've been over there cutting lumber. You'd walk through a 4-foot door to get out of it. It's kind of problematic after climbing a set of stairs that's way too steep. So it would be my estimation that the commission might want to actually do a little bit of research and see what the disposition of that building could be. Maybe it has to be torn down. I don't know. But it served us well. There are 5 well-maintained HVAC units on the roof. There's a ton of metal in the thing. And what I would suggest is that's 8,000 square foot. If you priced out what it would cost to build an 8,000 square foot building today, I promise you wouldn't get it done for $176,000. I don't know if we could build this room for that amount of money. So might be something to look at. That is my opinion.
I'm not opposed to looking at options.
So was there a motion to demo it previously, or was that just a,
I don't think there's ever been an actual action. I think
okay,
that was just the presumption, I think.
just making sure we didn't need to rescind something or?
I think there was, and without looking through minutes, I don't know exactly, there was, if not a motion, at least instructions to put it out for bids on a demo. But
I think we did that.
That's not binding in terms of making.
no, that's just getting bids, or getting quotes.
Maybe it's beneficial to us to hold off for a while, and we're going to work on this plan that they could fall into it. So
Okay.
I'm not opposed to it.
Thank you for the motion to change the electric. Appreciate that.
What about the insurance on it?
It's currently within our plan. We have a payment that has been, I believe, kind of rectified for that this year. Am I correct, Mr. Clerk?
Actually, at this point, we have it listed as vacant, and they did not charge us a premium on it because I told them the plan was at that, tear it down. So we don't have anything other than a vacant building exemption on there. And there was no cost to the sheriff in his budget for it this year at all.
So what do we need to do there? Just put it back on the roll?
Well, that
You decide what you're gonna
depends
do.
on what you want to do with it. 'Cause that was, I had just turned in the information for this year's insurance back around the 1st of October. And that was our plan at that time, is we were thinking by the end of the year, we'd have everything out and it would probably be torn down. But obviously that has not happened yet.
Do we need to put it back on the insurance for a while?
Harry, what do you think? I mean, legally, I mean,
Nobody's working in there right now, are they? Or is it-
That's correct. Nobody is employed in that building.
I think unless you start having somebody either do remodel work in there or actually working in there, I think you could leave it as a vacant building, because that's technically what it is. I mean, I think you're fine.
And our liability would be if a tornado came through and tore out the city of Mountain City, we'd be just out on that building.
Yeah, I think that's kind of where we are at the moment. There's not much of any
Is that what we
coverage
did
on
on
it that's
the
vacant, but
report
Or
out
a fire.
courtroom?
yeah, I can look into that more and see exactly where we are on it.
Okay.
How about the other two buildings? Are they, is that the way they are?
We hadn't changed anything on the others yet.
Okay.
so what do you guys want to revisit this in a month or what?
So what information do we need to get?
Rack our brains on what we can do with it and I guess.
I'd say in the meantime, you need to get somebody who's qualified inspector to go in there and inspect it and tell you what work needs to be done on it. And then while that's happening, you can think about how you might want to use it. I mean, I trust Kevin is right about the mold, but you never know. I mean, what's
Oh, I'm not an expert.
I know,
Mr.
I was gonna
Thompson.
say,
Please
so-
don't think that.
The cell part and then just leave the office area. I mean, if that was a case.
But the cells would make
good story.
good storage. I mean, locked. We could have areas for each department. I mean, you've been in the basement and seen all the record books and stuff that we have down there in the courthouse.
All right, we'll get a plan together.
And Sean, can you remind me were all those bids due on all the?
I plan to have an executive time with the commissioners today to discuss some legal issues involving that, so it may factor into your conversation. I think it's going to greatly impact this conversation.
All right, Kevin.
So this past week, or the past week or two, we've got to work with a few other counties around us that are in current jail projects themselves. That was Coffee, Osage. They're both looking at new facilities very much similar to ours. As a matter of fact, if you look at their footprint, it kind of very much resembles ours. We also brought Franklin County in to look at some systems that we're running. In the past few months, we've done this with Johnson, Wyandotte, Crawford, and maybe Cherokee. I can't remember if they were at our overall meeting. And that was for use of our system. It's called Guardian. It's a jail check system. That's where some of your, where a lot of your numbers for the jail are coming out of. It not only handles our jail check system, it also handles a lot of our systems where we're caring for inmates and how we're doing that, to include medication and what they're doing at the time that they're checked on and things like that. It's a wonderful situation. For our work with that, Guardian has rebated us in this year's fees $1,500 for talking to other places about our system and stuff. So that was kind of a nice bonus because we do have maintenance on that system yearly, and they awarded us for talking with other agencies about with that system. And that's included like some tours and stuff like that for staff from other agencies coming in. So in January, put an email out here a while back. Our income billed for January was $71,321.38. That's for holding of outside agency inmates in our facility. We would expect, of course, February is a short month with 28 days. We lose 3 days in there for holding time. Our expectation for February at our current rate of holding is $67,368. I also put an email out to the commission and and some of the others in regard to speaking to our municipal advisor, Joey McCliney. This past week, we've been talking about the bond and how to proceed with that, with our income, if there would have to be interest adjustments and things like that within the bond. In speaking to Joey this week, he has relayed to me that we should have no bond issue with our current contract in year 1 and 2 with the U.S. Marshals. So county or state inmates, as they may be, they're charged by the state of Kansas. So they're a state inmate, and they would be coming, say, from Wyandotte County. We have a contract with them. They don't count within this bond issue. Only the federal dollars coming in count. So currently, we're at 12 federal inmates. We have no issue with that. Our max contract could take us to 40 inmates, and we would have no issue with that in year 1 and 2 on our current bond, the way it's scheduled. Year 3 and 4, we could have an issue with it. And when I say an issue, the issue could be that we have made more money than the bond would allow us to make in federal income. So the trade-off for that is we might have to pay some interest on the bond. So it would be kind of like, you got to pay a little bit to make a whole bunch, and that's kind of how that would schedule out. So we would be looking at those issues probably in 25 and 26 and how we would approach that. And we would probably have to pay out some money, not a great portion, but some. And we won't know what that is until 25 and 26, year 2025 and 26. So that was really exciting to hear that, because that gets us going into our program with the marshals, and hopefully, depending on how staffing's looking, hopefully by mid-year, we can start looking at gaining more and more of those inmates to make dollars on. Of course.
So right now you can't because you don't have enough jail staff?
Right now, I'm not pulling anybody else in because our jail staff is currently a little bit low.
How many inmates is that?
So right now, we have 48 inmates in-house. I would be comfortable with my current staffing at getting to, 55, 60. Maybe if we can get a couple more, and you just have to gauge it. You just have to watch how busy is staff compared to, the inmate per staff ratio. So if we're running three on the floor, we do pretty good with that. And I don't want to really get over that number of 60.
Is it like 15 to 1 or something like that?
Well, right now, I have 16 spaces for personnel in the jail, and that is the minimum level of personnel to operate the facility. So one would argue that, well, by gosh, if you have 96 beds, you could put 96 inmates in there and have 16 staff. But the problem is, currently I have one staff member that is shipped out. They're in the service and they're deployed. I have one staff member that's on FMLA with an illness or injury. So when we suffer those types of things, it becomes problematic in our space. So now we're pulling people back in daily for overtime. So what I need to do is I need to staff that up enough where, quite frankly, right now, if I just have somebody go on vacation, it's a detriment. If I have, somebody go out, have to take a day off to go to the dock or something, it's a detriment. So I really need to bring those staffing numbers up a few, and that will be something that in June we'll probably be talking about for the 24 budget, of bolstering that a little bit, where we have some might argue it'd be excessive staff, but I've always got somebody out for some reason doing something. So realistically, right now, in jail staff numbers, I have 15 employees who are working. Well, actually not. I have one gone to the service. I have one on FMLA. So really we have 14 who are working the floor. So that's causing a revolving door of overtime. And that becomes problematic because, you just don't really, we have some overtime money scheduled in the program, but we're wearing our people out. So when you wear your people out, then they leave, then you come back to the whole.
And are they pushing to push you more inmates?
Oh, yeah. Wyandotte County would like to have every bed we have, but I just can't do that to my staff. U.S. Marshals has, right now we're at 12 of their inmates and our contract is for 40. So realistically, we're very short on what we've contracted with them. But they're okay. They have understanding that we don't want to overpopulate our system and drag that down. The problem with that is income. You know, we're looking at the Linn Countyans, and I think 100% of them would say, yeah, we built that place so we could have a little income. And we're achieving that. I mean, $71,000 billed last month, that's pretty righteous, you know, so I think, you know, if we just took an average right now of where we'll be, I mean, if we continued our staffing issues, you know, we're at $840,000 of income this year. You know, that's subsequent to what we didn't really plan on all of that income yet. We didn't know what it would be.
I think in the budget, I actually put 500,000 in there. For
Yeah.
this year,
So,
not knowing where we'd be.
yeah, and I think staffing could heal up depending on what occurs. I think staffing could get worse depending on what occurs. I mean, so it's 6 of one, half a dozen the other. I think we just have to keep on that task, on that project of what are we going to do. And I would say, you know, I suggested it this week or last week. There's ARPA funds, there's jail funds. We have funds. We could bring our county people's paychecks up if we wanted to. So that's my say on where we're at on jail, as far as dollars and cents, where our bond stands. I believe Mr. McCliney will probably come in and give you guys a little bit deeper feel of where that bond is, so you have more understanding. He kind of suggested that to me. I would throw out that in our jail numbers, I know I say we have 48. I have one individual who's in-house and staying in there, and they're not an inmate. They're under protective custody. So realistically, we have one more that we're caring for at a really high rate, but it's not an inmate or a prisoner, if you will. This past week, I had some issues with the court in regard to a transportation order that was given. In the transportation order was to send a individual, an inmate, to a private addiction center. And in the court's order, the court directed me to transport the inmate to the place of addiction treatment, and then to go back and get the inmate. And to me, that's very problematic because if I transport them there, we don't even really have the authority to release them there. So I went to the judge. This all started back in January 9th, actually. So I went to the judge and I talked to the judge and said, hey, look, I don't think you can really do this to me. Gave a statute that would allow transportation and other methods, not utilizing the sheriff as a taxi. And I was met with deaf ears, which was to me very upsetting because I felt that I was only trying to protect our county. So then I actually, on the 31st, I received a transport order late in the afternoon to transport the individual the next day. And not only would I take him there, but I would also pick him up. So on the 1st, I went again to the judge. I sat down with the judge and I said, I believe this is unfair to our taxpayers because, you know, a transport is not just something you throw together. You got two people, you got a vehicle, you got all this stuff going on. You're talking about hundreds of dollars per transport. So I told the judge I just needed to challenge it and try to make it right. And, you know, I was told that not only would the inmate be taken there by the sheriff and brought back by the sheriff, but the inmate would be in custody of the sheriff during this time. I objected to that. I objected to that to the judge, to the prosecutor, and to the defense attorney, all of which failed to protect Linn County. And to me, it's quite frankly embarrassing to have to do what I did. I had to go hire an attorney and challenge the judge. My attorney entered his appearance in the case, and the judge rewrote the order to cause the inmate to be furloughed from jail, so we would not be responsible during the time that that inmate was in addiction treatment. Because if the inmate were in our custody, we can't be there unless I have somebody 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, sitting in the treatment center with that inmate. That's just really not doable in our world. So they rewrote the order, they furloughed the inmate, and we no longer have custody. We actually had custody of that inmate for probably 55 or 60 hours while the individual was outside of our county, not in our control. The scary part about that is inmate gets sick, inmate gets hurt, inmate starts a fight, inmate walks away, steals a car, hits a family head on. Linn County owns it. And to me, it's a very problematic issue, and I hope that people will move forward and do the same process that we've done for years and years. As we all know, prosecutors and judges, they have this thing called absolute immunity. Sheriffs do not have that. We can be sued. And you gentlemen would know that that occurs and that happens. We don't need to put liability out there on top of what we've already got and do those things that I believe are unreasonable for our community. So that's all I have on that issue. A couple weeks ago, my undersheriff came in. He offered an issue representing the deputies and the emergency staff of our facility in regard to holiday pay. We would ask that the commission make some decision on that. And it's been tabled for some time and we've heard nothing back. We will have training coming up at the sheriff's office, March 20 and 21. We've joined up with the National De-Escalation Center for the United States, which is located here in Kansas through Fort Hays State University. I obtained a grant from them for training. They will be here March 20 and 21 to offer some of our staff de-escalation training. We will also have staff in from other agencies around us, whether it be municipal, county, state, federal, whoever might seek that training. That'll all be paid for from a grant that we received through the National De-Escalation Center. On April 13th, K-Camp will be at our office. They're offering training in several different disciplines, primarily looked at through the eyes of law enforcement. So they'll be training on law enforcement procedure, fit for confinement, jail medical, use of force, vehicle pursuits, harassment by discrimination, and legal updates for my staff and many other sheriffs and police staff around the eastern part of the state. The only other thing that I would like to touch on, and I know that you guys were discussing it somewhat this morning, is employee compensation. I made a suggestion as to ARPA dollars, and I know that that could be controversial because what do we do next year? I would make a suggestion as to jail income. I don't know how that could be controversial because the plan for that dollars is, well, quite frankly, maybe undetermined to some point. So that's what I would have for the commission this morning. I would stand for any questions that you might have for me.
Do you have it in your budget to already to have more staff to increase the number of inmates that we're keeping, or is it not in your budget?
I do not have that in my budget. I asked for that 2 years ago and that number was declined.
Well, I think from the last year, your budget went up a little over 600,000 from a year ago, right? Kevin, is that 22 to 23? 600 and some.
I think that would be close, but that's not all me. That would be energy for the building. That would be maintenance for everything. We have 44,000 square foot, of which I occupy 60, 70% of that, and I pay the bills for everybody else there. So yeah, we went up, well, quite frankly, from pre-justice to justice. We went up from, my budget rose from 2.3 million to 3.4 million. And that would be Justice Center things. So it could be a light bulb burnout in the county attorney's office, and we're going to take care of that. So we're maintaining all of that facility. So we could argue that my budget increased, and it absolutely did by the numbers, but we're also not paying insurance on, let's say, the court's building or the prosecutor's building. That came into my budget. We're not paying electrical, water, gas, any of those utilities. That would have all came into my budget. So yes, there was absolutely a huge increase there to care for the project of the Justice Center. right down to, let's say, a mop bucket, a vacuum cleaner, any of those items would have come into my budget that would not have been there before. So I think if you went in and extracted the dollars out of the court's budget or out of the prosecutor's budget or out of IT's budget and added those in, I think you would see that that was a lot less uptick.
It's just like if it's a true budget, our benefit package isn't even in our budget. You know, for each individual, and you know, that runs into lots of money in a year's time.
I don't disagree with you, sir.
Like
That-
over $15 an hour,
I'm sorry.
over $15 an hour.
I couldn't tell you. It's not in my budget.
I understand that. But countywide average, it's over 15 an hour.
I won't argue that number. Any other questions for me, gentlemen?
So we're underutilizing, how much money did we spend on the jail? What was the cost associated to the county?
It was somewhere, I think the max budget, and Gary can probably speak better than I, was $20,600,000-ish. Mr. Thompson, would that be close?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. And so by not filling those, we're underutilizing the money that we invested in that facility. Is that correct?
I would agree with that statement.
I had a conversation with the sheriff in Miami County before this was ever built. They have one just like it. He told me staffing wise, 50 to 60 is all they could put in there because of staffing. He said, I can't keep staff back in 2019.
How many dollars per month is he injecting into the county's budget?
Didn't ask him.
Zero. He has no contractual agreements with anybody to hold inmates in his jail at this time, as I know.
An inmate's an inmate though, Kevin. If 50 to 60 is all they can hold, that's all they can hold. He said that's all because of staffing.
Yes, I agree with that.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know what his pay is doing. He just told me that's all he could have.
Those are all his inmates.
And at this point, I mean, whether we're for the jail or not for the jail, you know, I believe it's our duty to make the best of that situation and do what's right for the county.
But what's the crystal ball and knowing what the interest rate's gonna be in 2 or 3 years? Do we want to overload? We're making our payment now. Our payment's been made by the sales tax dollars.
Correct.
And, do we want to bump that up somehow and then not know what that's going to increase our payment in 3 years? Because if interest continues the next 2 or 3 years, like it has the last two, do we want to risk that?
Or do we just stay further behind? I mean, that's like,
So-
you don't want to grow because you're scared of what the future is going to be.
So are we on fixed rate interest? Are we on adjustables? Are we,
It's fixed in this bond issue. However,
if we had to redo it,
redoing parts of that bond, then we'd be subject to whatever rates are current then. So it could be higher than what we have now.
But what will the income be versus what we're going to be spending on it? Do you know, Kevin?
My projection, if we were to go full house, we'd be at somewhere around $1.71 million per year based on 3 contracts that we currently have, 2 with the U.S. Marshals and 1 with Wyandotte County.
And the penalty for the bonds, it's undetermined. I mean,
I would have to have Mr. McCliney speak to that. He could get into the roots of that. I really can't. I'm not a municipal finance guy. And as I stated before, I think he will come talk to you guys because he's been doing work on the bond. Called me 2 or 3 times last week to, I guess, relay his excitement that we would be in really good shape where we're at on that.
so I think that we need to continue to look at what added cost we're going to incur by ramping up and utilizing our facility and be weighing that against the money that we're going to be earning as well. I think that we need to have a business analysis of that to make sure that we're,
Would it be fair to put the benefit package in the business analysis?
I think it has to be. I think it has to be Jim. It's a cost associated with those employees.
And Kevin, just like that for the sheriff's department, since 2018 to 22, it's increased 17 employees.
Yes.
I mean, just saying, long before we even had the jail facility, you know, I mean, we increased quite a few employees before then.
That's absolutely true. I wasn't here.
I'm not saying you was.
No. I can tell you why I believe, though, they were bringing staff in to plan for that project in the old facility, because when I got there, I mean, we had staff that was already there. We only had to go to increase to this 44,000 square foot. We only brought in another 6 or 7. So many had already been brought in for that project. But again, there was a study done in 2019 that would tell us what we would need to operate the facility. That RM&P study, if you guys recall that.
And that was done by Goldberg, correct?
No, it was done by some company called RM&P. It was a outside group. It
Goldberg's,
was part of their plan. That's right.
What you're saying, Jason, I fully agree, but I think we need to put the benefit package into the budget to see.
I don't have a problem with that.
Meaning,
I think that's totally judicious. I don't know why we wouldn't. I don't know other counties who their elected officials or department heads don't see where their benefit packages are, because it would behoove me, because I can see what I have in benefits to go out and hire individuals. And I wouldn't have to come in to David and say, what do I got left for space in there? You know, because realistically, I have people on my benefits program, and if I had a master dollar of those benefits, I have people on my program who don't take our benefits. I have folks in the military who are on TRICARE, and they're not utilizing the benefit package.
that did our benefit plan in the county if that happens. So if somebody don't take them, I mean, and then we know it just pay off of not taking benefits.
Well, we saved the money that we would have spent on those
But it won't
benefits.
hurt us if countywide everybody decides to do that. That's what I'm saying.
There is a limit on how many people can waive our coverage before it affects our policy, but I mean, we're nowhere close to that. If you had half the people didn't want it, we would be looking at a different type of policy.
I kind of feel like
People,
the question you're asking is, what do we do for the employee that doesn't take the package? And we stipend them $192 per month. So they get that for not taking the program. So if you looked at that in hourly, is that correct?
Yeah, that's the adjustment we make because they're not eligible for an HSA, which is what we put into everyone else. And we calculated that amount based on what we're putting in an HSA minus taxes, because we wanted the county to spend about the same amount as the people that get the HSA. So
I mean, the figure that we've got per hour is based off of everybody taking our benefit package, right?
the number I gave you when I did that calculation was based on our total employee benefit budget divided by full-time employees.
So basically, it could be a lot higher when we're saying, like he said, we have military people that are not taking it. So basically, it's costing us more per hour than that for the people that take the plan.
Yeah, I mean, and that said, that's not a good number. I mean, it's just an average.
Right, but I mean, that say we have 10 that don't take our insurance packages or whatever.
We'd be able to reduce that number.
It increases,
But
it would increase per person that's taking the plan.
right.
Right.
But it would also increase the total amount spent, wouldn't it?
We're going off the total amount spent already.
I thought you were going to total amount budget.
Some of what you get into also, if you want to really nail it down to departments and how much we spend, you've got to look at the work comp rates, how they're different in different departments, and just
And even our insurance, even really, because how much money we spend since we're self-insured on insurance at the level, right?
yeah, that one, I mean, it's not going to have an effect on what department you're in on that one, but just as an example, the work comp rate on Kevin's employees is way higher than it is on my employees because it's a more dangerous position and it gets charged at a higher rate.
Right.
Of course.
So you start looking at individual departments and how much is spent on benefits, you're going to have to factor that in.
And I think that $15 number that you were looking at, that's what we have budgeted this year. That's not what we've spent.
Right.
If you go back and calculate based off of employees, we do have a trend established, which I don't think is unfamiliar to every health and benefits plan over the last few years. Going back to 2018, we were spending $10.66 per hour. In 2022, that jumped up to $12.11.
I would challenge to get all these numbers on the same page, because if we were to look at the matrix program, which you all have heard me harp about, it would tell us that the benefit load per individual is 24%. Now, 24% of $15 an hour is not $15 an hour, but where's that coming from? And I'd like to see the number, because I've never seen the number. David has that number within his budget, and it's really hard to have an understanding for the totality of the budget if we don't get the same number every time.
Okay.
And I think that on that matrix program, because that's how I sell somebody coming to work for Linn County, is the utilization of the matrix program. And if I tell them your benefit load is 24% of your wage, that's a sell, right? I'm trying to compete with other agencies and counties around me. Well, if that benefit number is truly higher, I need that for a sell point. I can't go in and lie to these folks and say, hey, your benefit load's 24%, and a year later they come back and figure it, and they're like, no, it's not. I need to have that number somewhere, because I bring somebody from the clerk's office to every single interview that we do. We seldom, I think one time in the past year, we have not had somebody from the clerk's office in a sheriff's office interview. And we do that to describe those benefits and that plan deeper than I can, because I'm not going to sit there and go through every little, hey, we have massive insurance, we have whatever, we have all of these accidental things, blah, blah, blah. But what I sell them is the number, and I think we need to shore that up. And whether it be a line item in each office and department head's budget, I think it's important to know, to understand the total of the budget, because you've got guys like me who are out there writing my budget. If I don't understand the totality of Linn County's budget, I'm behind.
You mentioned the holiday pay, Kevin. I know there's basically only 3 holidays that you're concerned about, probably.
It's not my project. That's Bobby Johnson's. And
I'll explain that. As far as that's the only 3 that would actually be different, I believe would be New Year's Day, 4th of July, and Christmas. Everything else falls on a Monday through Friday.
couldn't tell you. There's some differences in the way you did it.
That's to you.
Yeah, and rereading the handbook, it is stated as such if they work the holiday and like that the county observes and the holiday itself, they get time and a half for one of those days, not both.
One day. And then they get paid their
Plus the holiday.
holiday, right?
Yeah.
And I talked to Gary for just a minute the other day that we need to get together and look at it, but Katie's been reviewing policies, and I think we've got some information in there that's going to take care of part of this
But I
anyway.
think 3 days is our major concern for the
It
year.
is, because those are the ones that are not going to fall
Yeah.
on a weekday
Right.
normally scheduled.
Yes.
You guys understand that?
Yes.
So should we get Bobby in here next week to talk about it in depth?
But David's going to be gone over the next several days, and so we
So-
probably won't have a chance to be prepared for next week.
Well, the only thing I would say to that is, Under Sheriff Johnson put together that plan and he's received nothing. And when you receive nothing and it gets discouraging and
We've
he's
talked about it.
discouraged.
David and I've reached out. I've talked to David. I've talked to Gary about it.
Yeah, we've been working on it. We should have got back to you and told you we were working on it.
I understand, and I think the 3 days will be the major problem because everything else will be paid on the holiday.
Yeah, I know. See, we work under a special statute at 171 hours. My people don't work 160 hours, my emergency service people. So there's some differences there, and we just want to shore it up to make it right, is what we're trying to do.
But we are working on it, Kevin.
Thank you.
And we should have told you that. We just,
Bobby Johnson, they are working on the holiday plan. I'm sure he's listening right now. Anything else for me, commissioners?
I got one thing.
Yes, sir.
I know you, I think you have some little lockers over there at the jail.
I do.
I think the STARS program in Pleasanton are in need of some maybe, and I mentioned it to him, but they're not really affiliated with the county. So, and Kevin's opened up that building to, you know, employees to go and get stuff what they need throughout the county. I want to know what you guys thought on just maybe taking a few sets of those lockers and donate it to the STARS program if they needed it.
Commissioner, I am sorry, I forgot to mention that in what I was going to mention. I was approached just this morning, actually, and asked that question, and I left that out, so my bad. We have what are evidence lockers. They were pretty expensive when we bought them. I've reached out, I have supplied some lockers to our police departments within Linn County to better their operations, to help them make some better evidence handling ways with the locker system. Of course, when we came to the Justice Center, we got all that stuff was in the package. And I didn't want to see those lockers torn down with the building. So we pulled them off the walls. We've distributed some of those around. I do have a few more sets of those. My ask would be is if they don't get taken for county office stuff, if we could maybe donate those to the STARS situation. The neat thing about that is that STARS program benefits all of Linn County kids, not any one school or anything like that. We have kids from every district that participate in that. And if I don't get rid of those things, I would just call them and say, hey, if you can use them, come get them. There's also some shelving and stuff there that I don't think any other county office or department would take. If it's going to be torn down, I mean, and quite frankly, a lot of it was evidence shelving and stuff like that. I'd offer that too. I mean, there's other stuff, but I just hate to see something get pushed into a pile of rubble and not utilized as the taxpayers paid for it at one time.
Just in terms of a technical thing, anything that doesn't go out to other departments, we need to do a surplus resolution.
Right.
Authorizing you to dispose of it as you see fit or something like that.
But if that project was partially funded by Linn County, would that be a Linn County project?
I just have to address that on a case-by-case basis, I
Okay.
think, to figure that out. But the Linn County doesn't fund the STARS project, does it?
That's true. That's why I would ask. That's why I'd make the ask today.
Okay.
What kind,
Do we need to make it available to everybody? How do we do that? I mean,
I think that you just probably would put a motion on the record that, once the county staff and county departments have taken what they need, you're going to authorize Kevin to distribute the rest of it to other sources as
SEC.
he sees fit, and then we'll do a specific resolution that lists those items. That way he knows in advance that you're going to do it.
Yeah, because quite frankly, there's some desks and stuff over there. I don't know, other departments or offices may want those. And I would say, please come get them. I even said, bring your own dolly and your manpower or woman power and get all of those things, whether they're filing cabinets or what. I just don't want to see things get torn into rubble. You know, I think they ought to go back to the tax base, if you will,
and that's today you're doing that?
1 to 3.
You guys good with that?
I'm good with it.
David, what kind of motion you got wrote up?
I'm working on it.
Okay.
Anything else for me, Commission?
I don't have anything.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. I appreciate
Thank
your
you,
time.
Oh, hey, Kevin, there is one thing. Hey, there is one thing. Do you want to talk about the SRO, the team that came in and assessed that?
Oh, yeah, we had a Department of Homeland Security assessment this past week. Well, actually, maybe the week before. My days are kind of all run together. But nevertheless, we had every school building in Linn County assessed by a person who does school assessments for safety, security, health, things like that. And that assessment went really well. It was received well by the schools. And there will be a finalization report that comes out. Part of my staff will take place in that reporting mechanism as well the U.S. Department of Homeland Security will make us an assessment, and then that will start us some planning measures to offer some better security and things like that in our schools. It might give us, little bitty things like a door that's not locked that maybe should be locked, all the way up to, how to better protect our staff, or how to better protect our student population, or how to better protect staffing population at the schools. It'll give them ideas of things that they could implement or not. It is a program that we don't push. We don't ask our schools to, go in and put in a new camera system or something like that. We might give them an idea and we let them take that. And that's what this report would do. It might help them in some of their measures. It's a help thing. It's not that we're pushing them to do certain things. It was a great program. We're really proud of the schools. They assigned some of their staff people to the program as they walked the schools and talked about things. So they got some feedback right there at the time. We're just really proud that that went down, and I appreciate you bringing that up. I know that you talked to Deputy Mitchell about that. And, I just think things like that for our community, especially when we're talking about those vulnerable populations, like in schools and things like that, I think things like that are really good for us to be doing, so.
And that happening, that's kind of where my mind's been the whole time, because I know that program wasn't assessed in like 7 years. So to see something like that to happen, I think it's going in the right direction.
That's right. We've been asking for this type of thing from an outside source, a third party, if you will, because we can go through and say, hey, we need to shut these doors, or hey, we need to make sure these are locked. And sometimes, our staff it's almost like they're integrated into that school system, so it's not always listened to at the rate we might want it to be listened to. And nothing against the schools. I'm not taking anything away from them because they all do a pretty good job at this stuff. But with it being a third party outside source, somebody from not here who's doing this all over the nation, not just in Kansas, not just in Linn County, I think there's some street cred to the program. And, they might see some things that, quite frankly, my people would overlook because they're so used to being in a facility or several of the facilities that it would become commonplace. And we want to keep ourselves sharp as well.
That reminds me, back when we talked about the resource officer program and the superintendents was here, you guys talked that you'd come up with a working agreement, and let us know where you at with that.
Oh,
You guys said you'd bring it back to us.
We've reassessed the memorandum of understanding. I believe I put an email out about that long ago. We did that like 2 weeks after our meeting in this room. We reassessed the memorandum of understanding, made a couple changes to it, back with all the schools.
Do you have a copy of that? You could resend it to me?
Absolutely do.
Okay.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I prepared a motion for you if this is what you want on the property. After county offices have claimed any needed fixtures, furnishings, equipment from the old sheriff's office, sheriff will be allowed to dispose of the remaining items as he sees fit after passage of a surplus property resolution. So, cover it.
Sounds good to me.
I'm fine with that.
Makes it clear to Kevin that he can do it, and it makes it clear that we're going to need to do a resolution, so.
I'll make that motion as David stated, or as he read it.
I'll second it.
Motion been moving, seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, at the moment, we still have two more things on the agenda that I put on there, and Randy is wanting the personnel session and Sean's wanting some for legal.
You guys want to discuss the generator bid while Kevin's here too?
Sure.
He went ahead with it. I'm just right now.
Yeah, I think Kevin is going forward with the contract on the ones he's responsible for with Clifford. And I sent you that analysis that shows that if you tack your two on to Clifford, it would be an additional $10,112.70. If you take your two to Cummins, it would be $13,052.48. And so I thought, that's basically the bottom line on it, is that that, tacking it on to Clifford, is quite a bit cheaper, and they're already doing the others, so.
Is it, I was looking, trying to find that business, Clifford, is that Clifford Power Systems? Is that the name?
Yeah, Clifford Power,
Okay.
out of Independence, Missouri.
And then the Cummings would be, or Cummins Sales and Service, I think was what I found on them, or one we've dealt with anyway.
Right, I've got it here somewhere. Yeah, Cummins Sales and Service, right. I
What
think,
extra do we get from here that we don't get if our own people did the maintenance?
Are they, is our people,
The load testing, correct, Sheriff Friend? The load testing and stuff that way is our difference if we did it ourselves, correct?
So there's some of the testing on life and safety generators, and I'll be honest with you, Randy can probably talk better to this than me, because when I first got the bid, I didn't have some stuff included in there. Randy reviewed the bid and showed me some NFPA 110 testing that had to be done. It was life safety equipment testing. Those are things that our staff, correct me if I'm wrong, gentlemen, Randy and Sean, our staff can't even do those tests. You have to be certified in which to do that and report that somewhere.
The 1 hour thing, do not do. 4 hour, it takes specialized equipment, especially with trailerable heaters, they have to come cook that.
Is that a yearly test or what?
The annual load bank is once a year, and then the 4 hour one is every 36 months. And that's just on your life safety, anything that's tied to life safety.
So that would be my two at the jail. Is that correct, Chief? Okay.
And the health department?
Unless it's tied to the requirement, with their batteries and their fire alarms, so.
Okay.
Missy, is that, were you able to ever to check, see if one of your grants would cover the cost of your maintenance on yours?
Yes.
They will? So her cost can be covered by one of her grants.
And I think that was like 4,600. Is that correct on hers?
5267. Yep.
52. So that would be, and honestly, that would be coming out of your grant project. So that would be something that
It would be until the grant.
diminishes.
There'll probably be another one, but it's something that we could use that for this.
So, yeah,
Your program, right?
it's a 5-year program. That's correct. And one thing that I was really proud that the rep did was they put in a guess, and this sounds crazy, but they put in a guess as an example for years, for the next 5 years after this one expires. So it would kind of give us an idea of where we would be for 10 years down the road. And I know certain commissioners are always harping about wanting a 5-year, 3-year. We got a 10-year outlook on this program. And I was really proud of that because I feel like it gives you guys an idea as to where we would be later.
So do you not deem the courthouse generator to be, it's not
life safety.
not life safety? Jim, do you think we'd be better served having our people maintain that generator, or do you think we'd be better off with these?
I don't know how much of this is broke down into the load tests and things. If we go away with the load tests on these, how much cheaper would it be for us?
We wouldn't have to do the load test. We're not required to do the load test.
Just on Kevin's too. They're the ones that have to do
Just on what?
the two.
Right, for the courthouse and the,
And here's the breakdown on what the different bids include. I don't know, did you see that in more?
Yeah.
yeah, I see.
Two different generators. That's the
Correct.
load test.
And those are ones that Kevin's already has budgeted for and is taking care of and going with this bid and everything that way.
I also care for the one at the K7 tower, because that's our radio and repeater system. And one might argue that that's a county thing, but I want it maintained properly, so I put it in our numbers as well.
Right. But I think it comes back on the health department and the courthouse. You know, those are the ones that we can decide on how we're going to handle those. And do we see the benefit on those non-life saving generators? You know,
So they're doing all the same tests that they're doing on the life saving on the other two too?
They are not. That is not bid in those.
It's not.
It is not. And you'll see on
that's why.
it was actually in red on the bottom of the last page, I believe, where my generators, it said something about the life safety testing. And that's because I'd reached out to Randy to help me with this because I'm not a generator expert. And Randy has this great tool in his pocket. He used to be at the fire marshal's office. So he was able to say, hey, Bonehead, you're not getting everything you need. So I went back to him and they said, oh my, we do need to put that in there.
Now, the old generator that we had at the old health department, does anybody know if it was maintained by our maintenance guys? Anybody remember the old one that we left there because it was never maintained right?
I think it was supposed to be maintained by our guys, but I don't think.
Right. And
I feel like one of the biggest problems with our, what I would call current program is that when we say our maintenance guys, that's one. And he's being utilized at a crazy high rate all over Linn County, probably 40 or 50, maybe facilities, things, buildings. And until a generator breaks, we do not maintain it.
yeah.
That's just how we've rolled. And that's bad on our part.
If I remember correctly, we left the old one the generator at the old health office because it wasn't ever maintained right. There was sludge in it or something and it wasn't worth keeping.
That's right. And we set it there. We set it there. We purchased it. We put it there and we just left it because we never maintained it. It was kind of, I hate to say it, scrap metal when we left.
And when I say maintain,
Right. We're not worried about batteries, belts, and hoses until something fails, and that's the problem. And load tests, and Randy can speak more to what they do for that stuff. Yep, where it runs.
yes.
It kicks on. Yeah.
I don't know if you saw this, Jim, this is the list of what each kind of service. So,
What are you guys thinking?
I'm in favor of having this outsource the maintenance on it and have Missy cover the generator with her grant as long as she can. And what's our plan on the courthouse generator? I mean, have we already made a motion and did stuff on that?
Yeah, it's already set to go to the one that's, going to go to the courthouse, the one that's sitting there, right?
That's
It's
the
already,
plan.
yeah, we're just moving it.
That's essentially a brand new generator.
Yeah.
Do we have a date on that? I mean, does anybody know?
well, that's all tied to if and when we tear this jail down. If you don't tear the jail down, you may not need to move it. You may just want to run a new line to the courthouse. That'd be a lot cheaper than moving it.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Well, it's basically changing oil once a year. Is what we're paying for.
Checking the belts and hoses.
And 10 every 6 months, he's going to 99-point inspection and test.
That's what we're paying for. Part of me feels like that the one at the courthouse is a luxury item. you know, the other part of me says that, you know, if we're going to have it there anyway, we've got to maintain it.
I think Chris had something that,
He has some technology there,
that he
yes,
ran. Yeah, I don't.
that has to have that on there.
Commissioner Hightower, I'd suggest one other thought on that.
Yes, sir.
I don't care where you go with it. I just want you to know that. It also fires the boilers. They take energy to run. Without it, you're going to lose heat, freezing pipes, 5 or 6 days out of heat. You're going to be in trouble there. Don't care where you go. Just want you to consider that because I wouldn't want to see a generator not kick on and your boilers go out and your heat stops and then you have pipes freezing. That could be serious trauma.
But I mean, we're at risk for that in a lot of places.
I'm not evaluating your risk. I'm just telling you what I do remember about reasons that generator was ran back over
Thank you,
to the
Kevin.
courthouse as well.
What are your thoughts, Jim?
Basically $1,000 a year for service for 2 generators per generator. What it is. This is $2,000 a year to do it. You gotta have it at the health department. You have to have a generator.
Correct.
It's not, it's 1,000 a year
Per generator.
per generator. Yeah, it's for 5 years, right?
I mean, we kind of run in the same situation on all our HVAC. We just don't really do maintenance on any of them for the most part, and then we just wait till they break and then we have to replace them. Just hate for us to go backwards and have to spend, how much does a generator cost?
Do they give us any kind of discount taking these in with yours, Kevin? Any more taking them? There's no more discount whether we take them or don't take
The
them.
courthouse
No,
generator.
Commissioner, the price is the price. The only discount that we receive from them is if we pay up front, we get a 5% price discount. That's the discount.
Discount on this price here would be 5% discount if we pay up front.
I believe.
This is the discounted price.
Okay.
This is a discount.
This-
I know my portion for my 3 in the plan was 17,000 and you guys' was like 10 for the 2 in the plan, something like that.
Yeah.
So I think if we don't go this direction, I think that it's important that we put together a plan for our maintenance guys on what they should be checking and what they do and when they should do it. And should we talk to him and see what he thinks? I mean,
Sean, we have 3 mechanic positions, right, in the county?
We have 3 slotted.
how many we got?
Okay.
Just wondering, do we have work for 3 mechanics in the county?
How's that pertain to this?
Could they pick up this if we have 3 mechanics?
But we don't have 3.
Huh?
But we don't have 3.
We got 3 job positions.
Right.
I'll make a motion that we go into a contract with Clifford for the courthouse and the health department generators, with the health department generator covered by grants from the health department, for $10,112.70. That's my motion.
Right.
Yeah.
5267. And you got money to pay for that right now if we paid up front.
Well, I mean, it would be the reimbursement, which we're going to report to the seller. Yeah, not up front.
Yeah, okay.
I'll second that motion.
Any other discussions on it? All in favor?
Aye.
Uh,
Thank you, Kevin.
All right.
Darren still has a rezoning to go through, and then we've got a couple of executive sessions we need to take care of.
Darren, are you ready right now?
Darren Wilson, Planning Zoning Director. I have a rezoning application Z22-04 for Chad and Alicia Stahl. Approval of rezoning for the A agricultural zone to the AR ag residential zone for lot split purposes. Located north of 650 Road, commonly addressed as 6327 Irwin Road, Mound City, Kansas. Under current zoning, A, the parcel is below the minimum 10-acre size and requires rezoning as AR, agricultural residential. Staff recommendations and finding. The proposed zoning change conforms to the character of the neighborhood by providing the combined usage. Neighboring agricultural zone properties and are of large size. Property is suitable for permitted use of the proposed agricultural residential zoning and will not negatively affect nearby properties. The proposal rezoning of the land creates no change or effect of surrounding properties and not create any additional infrastructure needs. The proposed change conforms to the comprehensive plan by allowing more land to be kept in large agricultural parcels and not changed to residential designation. This standards that should apply to listed in Article 16.054AH and with proper findings as required in Golden versus the City of Overland Park, and is located upon page 88 and 89 of our book. Staff recommends approval of the application. And it passed 5-0.
There's something stated in there about 35-foot easement. Does that mean they gotta back off the road that much further on that, or?
No, what that means is that right now, probably that road right away is probably only, maybe 60 feet. And they have to give enough additional easement to make it a 75-foot road right away.
And I've got a grant of road easement for that.
I read that, and I just wondered,
Yeah.
so they back it up another 10 feet?
Right, they're giving us another 10 feet for the road.
Okay.
And that, our rules require, if they don't already have a 70-foot right of way, they've got to give us enough to make half that.
Do they have to move the fence from that?
No, we don't make them do it.
As far as the easement?
If they would tear the fence down, we'd make them put it back on the right line, but if it's there, we let them leave it there. And so really what you're doing is not only approving the zone change, you're also accepting the grant of right of way.
I'll make a motion that we approve the rezoning. Is there an address? Do I need to say an address?
It's just resolution 2023-10.
Resolution 2023-10 and the, what'd you say, grant?
Accept the grant of road right of way.
That's my motion.
I'll second it.
Motion moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I've got one for you to sign here that's.
You got the road easement? There you go. Yep.
All right, so here's the resolution. And this one's
How's everything else going?
Todd and Jake are in Centerville digging out the lift stations. They're coming tomorrow to install the baskets. Other than that, everything else seems to be going good.
All right.
Anything else? Thank you.
Darren?
Sean, you need what, Sean? Executive?
If you'll give me,
10 for legal.
And then somebody needs something else. What was it?
Randy wanted, I believe, 10 for personnel. Is that correct?
Correct. And then I need about 10 minutes for legal to cover something with you.
I'll make a motion. We go to executive session for 30 minutes total, 10 legal with Sean, 10 non-elected personnel with Randy, and 10 legal with Gary.
I'll second it.
Motion been moved and second. All in favor? Wait until Jason gets back.
You want to go ahead and put this in, you can. You'll sign here, print your name here, and put chairman here.
We have a little bit of action.
I think David's drafted a motion for you.
So what I have prepared, if this is what you're willing to do, would be to make a motion to enter into the confidential settlement agreement on the Alexis Swearigan versus the Board of County Commissioners case.
And I suppose add authorize the chairman to sign it.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second. Motion been moved and second. All in favor?
Aye.
That all, Gary, right here at the top.
Yep. I'll get another. You don't have it here, do we?
Or me.
Oh, I forgot.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Go ahead if you want to, but.
I don't think we have anything else, do we? Sean?
Neither.
Morning, Commissioners. Sean West, Public Works Administrator. I have a memorandum of agreement. Commissioner McCullough and I met with representatives of Walnut Township to firm up our agreement between them and us on State Line Road. They agreed if we put one together, that they'd review it and get it signed as well. I don't believe this is one of the very few ones surrounding us that neither they or we could find in our records. I had Pam go through it and check my work as well. I sent it to Gary. I think this one will suffice at this point, and I'd ask that you allow the chair to sign this so that we can take it to their next meeting and get it signed and get it recorded.
There isn't anything under the agreement that states how often they do it or anything like that. They're just maintaining it.
No, it just delineates the responsibilities for sections of the State Line Road to them and us, and it does not tell us or them what our responsibilities other than that section of the road is our responsibility. Doesn't define to the standard which they or we will hold that to or the money that we'll spend on it.
So we need a motion on that to enter into and allow the chair to sign the MOA as presented. If that's what you're ready to do.
I can't make a motion myself to sign a paper, can I?
Did you get a chance to look at it, Jason?
Okay, I'll make a motion that we allow Danny to sign the memorandum of agreement between us and Walnut Township.
I'll second. Motion been moved and second. Any other discussion on it?
And that's just for the agreement as far as who takes care of the road.
Correct.
Good with it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All district, along with helping out with the sewer project for Darren, All District helped out with a water main leak in the park. Todd and Jake worked with Mike this last week. We had a water main break just beside the bathhouse. They were able, because we were able to pull them in together, we were able to get that resolved within a 24-hour period and get the water turned back on down there. Sherry, as well for the park, is working on trying to amend the policies for golf carts and side-by-sides. As you recall, the agreement that we just entered into, or the lease agreement, did not prohibit the use of side-by-sides or golf carts on the road surfaces within the park. And these would be used by people just to go from one campsite or one area to another to fish. So she's working on readjusting that to bring that to you at a later date. We'll have Gary review it before we bring it to you. Noxious weeds. I've been in contact with the sheriff in reference to Johnny and having everything already switched over and ready to go for bug spraying in all the buildings. And today or tomorrow, I will finish the email out and get it sent out to all the department heads. So if they have any specific concerns, all of them will have been formally notified by me that we've taken over those responsibilities, and they can work directly with Johnny to resolve those. Sign department is working with our trainee on our CDL testing, and we believe he was able to complete his written portion within a 2-week period, and we believe he will test on his driving portion probably next week. So of the 8-week period, he may have it done within a 4-week period on that. So it's going well, and both the trainer and the shop foreman told me that the pace of that was going very well so far. The transportation department, we'd talked about the new bus coming on board, and I was asked to look at the possibilities of whether or not we needed to keep that old bus, because as you remember, I discussed, it concerned me that both of these old buses went beyond their life expectancy, and I was concerned about being able to keep them running long enough to get to our next new bus, which may be 2024 or better. I went and spoke to the sheriff, and after discussions with him about the county bus and the red bus, we've gotten the usage and the combined usage of that, along with, because it would only be needed during transportation of persons needing a lift assist. We've come up with the understanding now that I can get rid of that other bus, and when I do the property, correct me if I'm wrong, it's to dispose property when I come back. When I do the surplus property, I expect to do that within the next 30 days. You'll see that bus will be on it. But when we sell that bus, because of the terms of the transportation program, we'll get a very minimal portion of the return of that bus, even though I don't think the return on it's going to be great anyway, because of the condition of it. We'll still get a very minimal return on that because it goes to transportation. I'm sorry?
Is it our duty to sell it, or is it another option where it just goes back, or what?
If it could be used in the program, we could give it back, but the whole program, the equipment has had to go through and beyond the life cycles expected because of the problem getting vehicles. So I don't believe that it's going to be of use for anybody else in that program. So I believe I'll be putting that on that order to get rid of it and auction it. Commissioners, that's all I had for you this morning.
Thanks, John.
Thank you, Sean.
Gary, you got anything else? Jessica, can we talk a little bit about the airport since we have a meeting tonight? Like where we're like out with the contract with Pleasanton, and I mean, did we ever find a signed copy of one?
There's not a signed copy that anyone can find.
What was the initial agreement when that came about? I mean, was it?
Initially, first grade, it had to be a city that was the applicant. But the county is the one that really wanted to do it. So the Department of Transportation agreed that we could partner together as long as the city was the applicant.
That was a state grant, right? 'Cause that's why the city had it.
So we went together, got the grant, started the project. Next round of funding comes along and in order for the city to be the applicant, it had to be in the city. The next round of funding comes along and that's not a requirement anymore. So the city gave the airport back to the county. That was the intention all along. And so I've got the deed where they deeded the whole thing to the county.
How many acres? What we're talking? I mean,
Altogether, maybe 135 acres.
so we bought it.
We really bought it, correct. And so, but it was in their name. And so then they gave it to the county. So it's now, so at that point then, it's a county property. It lies within the city. And, that's it is still taxed by the city and of course the school district.
Now, did the grant pay for all the ground, or was it a type of deal where we put into it, or do you know, anybody know?
The grant paid for, it was like a 90-10 grant, and everything out there was paid for 9-10, just about.
So the land and the runway and
It was, yeah, all provided. They wanted this airport back, that they paid most of the cost of everything.
Now, why did we not go with federal money? Because we wanted it, or because like you talked about the federal one, the light?
Which it kind of limits us from what I've talked to a few different airport guys and the lady from the FAA. It limits us to what we can advertise our airport on. And another a risk that she said was our, the landing lights being, not being solar
Or solar?
and I guess you can't have that. I don't know.
For FAA, no. But we're not.
What stops from landing there with it not being an FAA airport? Is there?
It can't be an FAA airport because we sell
lots.
extra lots.
But who can land there? I guess, does it stop?
Well, no, I don't believe it.
Stop anybody from,
As long as the runway length is the right amount for them to land, they can land there.
anybody can?
Yeah.
Okay.
Bigger planes need longer runways, but
so nobody's gonna land a Learjet.
probably not. No, not the way it is now.
Calculation at the time, it would take another 1,000 foot of runway or something for that. So they figured out how to do it.
I believe there are plans to extend it 1,500 or maybe 2,000 feet plans that have been drawn up.
Do you remember what our
At some
goal
point.
was to do this? What was our goals when we started?
Well, we had this crappy old airport out here, and it was dangerous, and it had a hump in the middle of the runway.
This one does too, they tell me. I guess.
But this one had a hump to the seal. Anyway, so everybody was unhappy with this airport, but nobody was thinking about doing much. You came up along and said, we want you to have a good airport, and we'll pay for most of it. So that was the thing.
Didn't think,
I didn't think it was.
didn't think about the maintenance later down the line.
Well, that's what I said. That's government does it to us. They throw the grant money out there, and then we build something, and then we don't think about what it takes to upkeep.
And then the thought was, well, we could provide for upkeep by selling these lots. But, for a variety of reasons, that's not what it's.
We've got into multiple of them in this county, just like it. Danny, this isn't the first.
No, I know. We got to fix it. I think. I mean, Do we have to bring in an engineer or something to tell us, hey, you guys are gonna have to overlay this airport sooner than later because of the cracks? I mean, what?
So, Todd and I were just actually discussing that last week, or maybe it was Sean and I don't know. We think that we'll have to overlay it within the next 5 years, but we believe that we have the equipment to be able to do that, that we won't have to hire that out.
It wouldn't surprise me if we can get some state money to help with that.
There's no way to, there's no exemption for us being a county airport for the taxes?
Yeah, I think I mentioned that last week, and we're going to apply for a tax exemption on the airport. But they may not grant the tax exemption on the lots, because those lots out there for sale are not an essential part of running an airport. If we own them,
Yeah, but the ones we've already sold, it doesn't matter.
well, if they're paying tax.
They're paying taxes. The only thing you're talking about is the lots that we own right now. So if we take them back to where they're not for sale,
Well, we have to find, I'm gonna try to get it exempted just like it is. Because we still be money ahead of some lot.
Well, I talked to a guy that owns a lot out there that he said he bought it, and I said, well, what are you gonna do? He said, I'm gonna sell it. I said, why? He said, because I'm not buying, he's like, I'm not paying $1,000 a month taxes on the lot.
Oh, they're not found.
I don't know, that's just.
480 something
A year.
A year.
a year.
Yeah.
But I don't know, I mean, and I have a few pilots calling me, telling me that, like, I guess there was some fly ash on it here a long time ago, and, we put people's life at risk, and so is it worth us taking the risk of having the airport? I mean, what do we do? I mean,
I took that call as well. We are currently not doing that. Our road guys are taking care of the airstrip just like they do the roads when we have, inclement weather. They're going out there. They can scrape it. They can spray a liquid. They're not supposed to use sand, but they're going out there and scraping it down so that people can use it.
I still think if you could find someone who would be a developer out there, and this is where you're planning to develop the business of the airport.
Yeah.
You come in. If you found somebody who would say, I will develop this airport, and we partner with them, make the lots available for them to go out and resell, and maybe they would build buildings and rent them. That would apply to seed the water.
Right. The pilots don't want to own the building because they're not going to make money on that building.
They want to lease them.
They want to lease the hangar.
Right. And so if you could find someone who would develop the airport, I think a partnership with them, even if you practically gave them the lots, you come out ahead.
Well, and honestly, I think if we go that route, we would have someone who knows about airports. And I'm not saying that I don't, mind doing it, but I don't know anything about airports.
No expert on it. There's people out there.
Right.
so that's why should we even have a hand in on it?
There have been times when we first started this that we were approached by people who wanted to set up an FBO operation. But we weren't ready to do that at the time. So I think we kind of blew them off, didn't we, David?
Mm-hmm.
And what was that?
Fixed base operator.
Where you
Actually have a manager on site and.
yeah, you're the developer of the airport. I mean, this person would.
Now, does that cost the county if we do that?
Well, not necessarily. I mean, we might say, we'll give you these lots at this discount if you'll come in and do this. You keep all the revenue. You'd be paying some taxes or maybe not. But it's really one of those things that it's negotiable. Everything's negotiable.
And then in that agreement, we would still be doing the upkeep, or they would be
Not
doing the
necessarily.
upkeep?
I mean, that'd be part of the.
Negotiation.
You work out an agreement by which he would agree to come in and set up a fixed base and develop their.
The way I feel right now, it's a money pit for us. I mean, we need to do something different. I mean,
Well, what we probably, if you're not gonna get the grant
We don't know yet. They told me that they were supposed to announce it last week. Nothing came out. So
So we've applied for a grant to fund the business.
a
plan.
business plan and operating procedures, because we don't have any operating procedures
We already had
established.
This plan, which was based when the.
No, we do not have a business plan. We have covenants which dictate how the owners of the lots can build on the lots. That's what we have.
But if maybe we could do it, or if particularly if we don't get this grant for the business plan, maybe we could do an RFP for an FPO. RFP for a fixed base operator. And just put it out there and see if somebody will come in and say, here's my plan, what I would do to develop this area.
To take it all.
And I don't know when it all started, if this was some of the reasoning or not that we didn't have a FBO, but I know every time it would come up in a commission meeting, we referred to it as the airstrip. And it was made clear to us that that was an airstrip, it was not an airport. Well, over the years, we've started calling it an airport, and I don't know if that was really amounted to anything or not, but
I do kind of remember that.
yeah, back when Dennis was the economic development director, he was always making that point that this is not an airport. It's not a county airport. It's an airstrip.
That's where we get into the, it's not FAA.
Yeah.
We are a member of the Kansas Aviation Association, and they, if we were to go that route and send out an RFP, they will distribute that for us. So we could draw something up and submit it to KAA, and they would send it out to all of their members.
So when do you think you'll hear from this grant? Do you have any idea?
I have no idea.
Don't have.
They told me on the phone that we would know last week, and we didn't know. So I don't know.
So we have, what, $250,000 worth of PABI lights sitting in somewhere, right? That we got a grant on?
I think those are the PABI lights
That's
the solar ones?
Yeah.
That's they're installed. It's the solar lights.
But there is
There's that's two different.
of those, under my understanding.
Okay.
For the extension that was planned.
So we have them in storage?
That is my understanding. I'll have to confirm that and get back with you, but when we did some repairs, we pulled from surplus. But my understanding is we may have purchased for the length that we thought it may end up. So a portion of those may still need storage.
Which is, if we go with the PABI lights, do we have to go over to a federal airport, right?
No,
We install those?
those are the same as what's out there. It's just more of them.
Sold the ones that are not.
PABI lights and the runway lights are two different things. The PABI lights go at the very end in a cluster, so you can see coming out of the clouds or something, as I was explained to. And then,
So we have lights at the end that are out there.
yeah, we have a few that's like the solar one, yeah.
Yeah,
But then we have the PABI light system.
I don't know.
I think I understand what you're talking about is the lighting system that we were planning on doing some concrete work and some other things. And I'll have to look at that and get back to you. I remember some discussions about
It's just
what
something
we're
that,
talking about, it's been some time ago. It's something that we had to put up, and do some concrete work ourselves. But I think, my understanding, I think as we discussed that, we opted to go for somebody to plan the development of it and coach us going forward. So I don't think we ever got to any installation on it.
I've got, the article came in the newspaper last week. I've got hounded pretty good on it, so, of educating me on what we're not doing right, so.
And I certainly am absolutely behind the great curve as far as understanding of the policies and procedures for an airport and the history of how we come to be where we're at now.
And I just think a lot of this stuff's gonna be asked tonight at the meeting, so.
It is every meeting.
Oh, it is?
Mhm.
I guess we'll see where we go tonight, then, huh? You guys got anything else?
I don't have anything. Thanks, Bill.
Thank you, Jessica.
Okay.
David, to go back to the budget, if we break that out into each department, I mean, it'd be a year-to-year type budget. you know, I mean, it would change probably because of
The
your
employee
benefit.
benefits budget.
Yeah,
So are you talking just an accounting of it by department or actually like do away with employee benefits fund and charge?
I don't know.
it to
I'm
everybody?
asking you what to actually put it into the budget to where we know what the sheriff's department or the road department actually costs us. What,
We've got a spreadsheet that shows like the different work comp codes so that we actually can come up with a loaded wage.
so what I'm saying is if the sheriff chooses over there that, you know, we've got this allocated there and he chooses that he comes along, has 5 deputies that does not want the benefit package, that he can choose what he wants to payroll wise, where he wants to put them in there. That would help some
You talking about compensating, taking like, just instead of getting a benefit package, get an extra hourly rate?
if they choose.
That's not really what you're doing. What you're doing is if they don't take the health savings account, they're getting compensated.
Yeah.
But if they pass on the insurance, they just pass.
I understand that, but what I'm saying is, if they pass on it, if there was somebody that chose to pass on the insurance, could Kevin decide, you know, to give them more money? If we had a figure,
I think that'd be a mess to get into. I know there are, and when I said something about 50% earlier, that's not an exact number on people taking the plan. There is
I
a
understand.
threshold there. If we don't have enough people on our plan, it affects the plan. And it could affect our cost of the plan. We have to certify every year that we have it. Is it 90% participation, I think, in the plan? I think we could get in a lot of trouble with our plan and end up costing us more money if we don't keep people on it. But that, to me, paying one person more than the other because they don't take the benefits could create a lot of issues too.
And I think the issue that you're going to see with that is people come on and off the insurance, you know, so they said they weren't going to take the benefit because their spouse had benefits somewhere else that they liked better or something along those lines. And then
Come back.
2 years from there, they switches jobs, takes a promotion somewhere else where the benefits aren't as good. And now they're coming onto our plan and things that way. I think that's,
But we can give you the spreadsheet that shows the percentages by, well, not necessarily department, but by work comp code, which would be closely related to departments. Some have more than one, to show you what the loaded wage is in different departments. So, I mean, you can
I think
calculate
that's something we need
that.
to look at, you know, as far as knowing exactly what the sheriff's department or the road department knows exactly what it's costing us.
I was looking at our work comp rates earlier when we were talking about this. Sheriff is not the highest work comp rate either. Like, believe it or not, our maintenance guys at the courthouse are as high as any of them, and solid waste, I think, is next. But just the difference in the sheriff's office versus a job like Katie and I do, it's roughly 24 times as high for the sheriff's office work comp. Now, given that, it's still not, I mean, it's like $5,000 or $6,000 a year as opposed to 400 that we're paying on all the clerical. So that's not like that's a big part of our cost. But there is a large difference depending on what department and what your job description is on how much that costs. Unemployment changes rates year to year depending on our experience. We dropped down really low this year. We're at like 0.01% on the unemployment cost. A year or two ago, we were at like 1.7%.
Is that something we know before we budget? Where is that?
It's close. It's usually right around budget time or the end of budget time when I get that notice for the next year. But I mean, all those affect that budget. And to me, another issue you get into if you start charging all those costs to the department was then when you get into departments like health, road and bridge, fire, ones that are not within the general fund, they've got a limit of spending on their fund without an amended budget. And if you don't have all those numbers when you're doing budget, or really not even sure how you get into the health department, the health insurance cost part of it, because we get a bill every week on the claims because we're partially self-funded. So Katie and I see who those claims are on and how much, but I don't think you could ever get to where you really charge that out to departments on their people. And if you did, it would be so much different from year to year.
Wouldn't it?
Yeah. And it would be a nightmare to try to budget for, because say this year Katie has a big surgery and my department has a bunch of expense, and next year Sean has one and his department has a bunch of expense.
Sean jumps off a ladder.
I didn't say that. But how do you budget for that from year to year? I mean, it's much easier to have it in an employee benefits budget. And if you go back far enough in the tax laws in the state and how budget laws work, most places back in the late 80s or early 90s split employee benefits out into its own budget. And the big reason at that time was there were tax lids on various funds that you couldn't go over, which that law's gone, but employee benefits was exempt from the tax lid. So people put everything they could in an employee benefits budget so they weren't subject to the tax lid. Now we're under a totally different system, but that's how a lot of them got to that to begin with. If we had just a straight insurance plan for our health insurance that was not self-funded, then we would know how much we were going to spend per employee, and it wouldn't matter what their claims are. But then we also would spend that entire amount every year, where now a lot of times we have quite a bit of money left over in benefits that we can fund the next.
We have a set number now that we're gonna spend, we just don't know which department's gonna spend it.
Well, we don't even know how much we can spend. We have a set budget on the maximum we could spend.
That's what I'm saying, but the maximum amounts budgeted,
But if our
we may not
claims,
spend that
yeah,
much.
if our claims come in under that, we don't have to spend it.
So like this year rolled over,
We rolled over, was it $500,000 this year into a purchase order?
and that's why I'm saying that if we're just looking at budgeted expense,
Let's take
we're not,
$500 million over the amount of people, then it's not a huge amount of money per dollar per person, is what I'm saying.
I know, but it's still a difference,
Yeah, it is, it's different than the 15, but if
you know, because, I mean, if we're looking at those budgets, you know, I mean, what percentage of, what is the budget? The budget is
3.6 this year, something like that.
3.9,
3.9, okay, yeah.
you know, so what is 500,000 out of 4 million?
500,000 divided by how many employees we got.
I know, but it's an eighth of the budget
Right.
is what I'm talking about. That is sizable.
Right. But you break it back down per hour per employee, it's not a huge amount, is what I'm saying. My dollar figure was per hour. I was talking that.
Right, that's the difference between the 15 and the 13.34,
Yeah, so
right?
it might be 14.
So $1.70
Yeah.
per hour. Yeah,
That's what I'm saying. If we break it back down to the hours, it's a sizable amount.
It's going to be a task.
sure will.
I think it needs done, so. Now we got to figure out how to do it.
But I still say the money isn't the whole issue right now. It's a lot, the employees aren't there. You know, we take our ambulance, they're basically full.
Yep.
I never asked them what they did with their wages, but you know, they're, you take them in Linn County and they said they're waiting on one to get trained, right?
Yeah.
So did they raise their wages? Their budget didn't change. You can go back and look at their budget, it stayed the same for quite some time. Like quite a few years.
Right.
What did we signed a 5-year deal with them? I mean, and we're a year or two into it.
Yeah,
Which I bet they talked about that and gonna be a problem to them, you know, but could be a problem. But it hasn't changed for years. You know, very much. That's pretty big, benefit to the county to have an ambulance service. I mean, you'd think the ambulances, man hours would have changed, but what they've budgeted, we budgeted for that hadn't changed a whole lot.
I guess we'll think about where we go from here on out on the plan and how we want to.
I don't think, I know we're not gonna work on it, but then something's gonna happen overnight.
No, I think it's gonna be huge. I think we should start on it now, though. I mean, you know, so that when the budget does come, we know, you know, that this doesn't make sense. You know, why are you guys doing this and that?
Okay.
Yes, I don't know if where that starts with workshops. I mean, I don't know.
Got to be talking about ideas, researching those possibilities,
I
and
mean, you know, things that doesn't make sense to us, and you know why we do what we do. I think we just all need to write down our thoughts, and we try to address them one time or one thing at a time, and we make sure the plan that's in place is viable. Yeah. I know there's a lot of stuff
with that.
But we go back to, just like I've said all along with the grant money, we throw this grant money out there on lots of issues, and we take it in the budget, and then we turn around, we're gonna have to figure out how we're gonna pay the bill on what we did with the grant money. Eventually. Is that fair
I think
statement?
the airport's a good example of that.
The health department, I mean, we just keep it, adding stuff to it, and there's gonna be expense there on down the road.
I agree.
We take the grant money. And I mean, it's good to put the awning on there and everything, but there's gonna be upkeep to it. I mean, maybe not a lot, but there's gonna be something come along we have to fix. We just keep doing those.
So when we do grants, I think we should ask whoever's, you know, wanting the grant to give us a few years of, you know, outline of, you know, where, you know, what could happen to it, what kind of maintenance needs to be on it.
The resource officer is a prime example that took grant money to start that thing, and then somebody had to step in and take over.
And that's what I want to stop at, you know, because it's, yeah, I think the airport's a big one still. That's cost us a lot of money, and it was grant driven, and you know, I wasn't want to happen, but it just feels like we.
It's a good example of what, you know, we take the money and we accept the responsibility to pay for it later.
we can make those decisions, whether we're paying for it later or not.
You say if you take this grant, you know, and that's why I think like a plan comes in with the grant saying, you know, in 5 years, you know, it's not going to be usable no more. We're not going to renew or whatever. You know, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
I think that's. Do you like that?
I think we better put a lot of thought into it before we take all this stuff on.
Yeah.
Do too.
We pick one area of the week and we just, at the end of the meeting, we just talk about.
Just like the jail, and just like you said, Jason, we've got the jail and we got, you know, that we should have a game plan of how we're going to pay for it to begin with, you know, the operating costs. Because we knew it was going to be more. Do we just want to trade dollars just to be, you know? What I'm saying is have 50 prisoners versus 100. If we're just going to trade dollars for the extra 50, is it worth it to the county?
Right, and that's what I'm saying, we've got to analyze that. No, I agree. that we have to look at those
That's
numbers.
what I say, as far as we're making our payment right now with the 1% sales tax. But if we go up our bonds to where it costs us more money, are we better to sit here and take the,
And we're not gonna know that until we know what interest rates are in 2 years,
who's got the crystal ball?
right? I mean, there's a futures index, just like there is on cattle or grains or everything that way, but it's
2
based
years
in
ago, you wouldn't
knowledge.
thought the interest would be what it is today. That's a lot to do with your administration.
Sure does. Sure does.
I do think Joey will be able to give you some insight on refinancing a bond and give you some ideas. Obviously, he's not gonna know what interest rates are gonna be in 2 years.
Right.
But that it is his business and he's worked with us on it, and I think he can give you some insight on how to look at that project.
But then, okay, with that, say that happens, the payment is based off of the 1% sales tax, right? I mean, the payment for our bonds. We have to pay for that with the 1% sales tax.
That's what the 1 cent sales tax is designated to go to.
So what if the payment goes over what we raise? We stand it as a
You
king.
gotta come up with the money to pay it.
Right. So if, I mean, right now, we're making our payment better than making our.
We're taking in maybe even $250,000 over what we need most of the time.
So we could pay it off quicker. I mean, as far as,
Yeah, however, we can't yet.
I understand.
Because we can't cash
But
it.
once it is, once we get to the point where we can lower our payment.
Yeah, and just something else to keep in mind when you're looking at how much the sheriff's budget increased. I also put 500,000 in income in the general fund this year for housing prisoners, so there is an offset there that helps with that. And that's not the only thing that money goes for, it goes into the general fund, but that is helping make up some of that difference that we've increased.
But we gotta keep in fact, you know.
At the rate we're going, we're gonna take in more than that 500, so.
Right.
As long as we can keep our numbers up.
Right. I mean, we're on pace for 800,000 or a little more the way the year is starting. And that's, I know last year when we were working on budgets, and I talked to Kevin about income from that, and we kind of settled on that 500,000 just because we didn't know at that point. And we thought this year when we're doing budget, we'll at least have some historical data to look at and have a better idea what to budget in another year.
Then just like that, we got 2 more jails coming online right here. That's
Yeah,
gonna be
I mean, there's a lot of
competition.
factors that can change it.
Competition against us taking prisoners too. I mean, I know we got a contract, I don't know how long,
I have a copy, I haven't
I
studied
don't
it
know
that
how
long.
long it is, but you know, when you got competition out there, if there's more jails come online, it'd be more competition for the prisoners.
Of course.
Hmm?
Of course.
I know it's all unforeseen, but it's something we got to think about.
You're correct. Yep, I agree.
I talked to the Osage County Commissioner about that. I mean, they're going on that federal prisoner deal. That's months ago to a year. I talked to him. He called me about it.
So they got sold good.
Huh?
They got sold good.
Well, he was ready to build it that day. He was, because he said that's where they're going to make their money, is the federal prisoners. Which they already had a contract with them, and I didn't understand that they could take some with their own jail. So they'd already had.
They have those stipulations in place you have to be able to take those, right?
Mhm.
That's what Kevin was saying.
That's what he told me anyway. But we had.
Well, today was productive. I think it was getting somewhere. next week, you guys want to try to start doing a plan and getting into the nitty gritty on everything, or what?
What are we gonna work on?
I don't know. You want to make a list of our each of us biggest concerns, biggest questions, and then we just kind of
Compile that list and start ranking
start.
what needs to happen.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good start. I don't think it's going to be easy, though. I think it's going to be.
Never easy.
So you
Not the
want
point.
time next week to, how would you put that? Discuss priorities for workshops or plans? I will tell you, I will not be here at next week's meeting. Not that that stops you from discussing whatever you want to discuss, but
Just kind of outline our biggest concerns in each of us, and then put it on the list, and then we just
We can talk about it.
Start
We're not
talking
making
about
any decisions. It isn't, I mean,
I don't think it's something we can make a decision on anyway. I think we
I
just.
don't think it's something we're gonna fix overnight. I mean, but we need to.
No, I
start
think
working on
I think it's going to
it.
take a long time, and I think that it's going to take the time before budget and budget to figure it out, and at least get a good plan. I mean,
You're back to just like the Pleasanton Mills. I mean, we haven't got that one figured out either. We worked on the building,
I know.
that's something else we need to.
Yeah, and same situation with everybody else. There's no contractors to look at anything, and to figure out what it's going to cost to do the building there, and then the community center. And Pleasant stated in the newspaper that there was regulations and stuff beyond what I was told, like because it's a FEMA box or whatever, because they still got to be able to utilize it. So I mean, there's just and I've had Sean reach out to Ottawa and ask them, what you have to have in a mill site, by law, and I think he's still working on that. So, it's my plan to go in there and do a complete assessment of what, like a home inspection, of what that place needs, but that takes time. I mean, I got a full-time job beyond this too. This all last week, I didn't do no construction. I did all commission stuff all week long since last Monday. So, I'm only one person. I know that the newspaper keeps putting in there that, well, Danny says he can do this. Well, Danny, there's no contractors here that answers Danny's phone calls, and we're having that problem throughout the entire county. So,
one thing you emailed me about last week was business cards.
yeah.
We have the basic format like I have on my card set up with Linn County Printing.
Okay.
I mean, I can order some for you guys if you want them. Just have to let me know what you want on them, what phone number, what email and all that, or whether you want some or not, but we can get them. That's not a problem.
I don't think I need them. My phone number's out there. I mean, it's.
Yeah, so is mine. Your brother was the only one that called me on this phone. He was first one. So, but I would like some just so I can try to separate my phone number for the county stuff and my
So
personal
if
stuff.
you want to just drop me a note on what number and email you want on it, I can get some for you.
Obviously, the internet's working okay because somebody got it. So,
And if you want something like that, just let me know. We can get them ordered.
Okay.
And they're pretty quick about that usually. Ordered some for Katie a while back, and it was just a few days, and we had them.
I think nowadays, if somebody wants to get hold of it, they get hold of it. So I think, because it's out there.
all right. Well, if there's nothing else, I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
I'll second it.
Motion been moved, second, all in favor?
Aye.